ultimately people pay because that's how the system is built. You can get away with it for some time, but sooner or later you have to pay. So, there are a lot of restrictions in life that we can say, oh, I don't have this, I don't have that. I wish I only had this, so I wish I had a better car, I wish I had a bigger house. But you got what you got, and do the best with that because the other things will take care of itself.
All right, folks. Now I have a special guest with me today on Stop Hamel Time. My name's Daryle Hamel, and across from me I have Vijayn Nair. Am I saying that correctly?
Oh, you are awesome.
Is it Vijayn?
Yeah. I should just give you something just for getting it right the first time.
So it's interesting. No, you're welcome. And thank you so much for coming on today. We met through the Toastmasters program, and Vijayn, you were. Should I call you Vijayn or Vijay?
Just call me Vijay. It's easier.
Vijay.
Yeah.
And that's how a lot of people here know you.
I used to, right.
Yeah. So the reason I'm asking you this is because when we first started talking, I saw your name when I was, emailing you. Right. And I saw the N, and I saw how you spell your name. For me, I thought it was just Vijay. Right. And I'm like, oh, that's not it.
No.
So that's the only reason I'm...
when you come from the south or the north, you just add an N at the end of the name, then you become from the south.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you become a South Indian,
So talk to us. North and south, where are you from?
Oh, yeah, I'm from India. And originally I was born in Kerala, which simply means land of coconuts. Very, very old country, it's got a lot of history in it. A lot of religions have come there, originated there. 53 AD, the Jews came and settled in India. 52 AD, St. Thomas came to the same place. In fact, St. Paul reached Rome only in 62 AD, but 10 years before that, St. Thomas was in that place called Kerala.
Now, how do you say that? Kerala?
Kerala. So it's spelled Kerala.
Okay, Kerala.
Kerala, which means land of coconuts. And every 3 feet there's a coconut tree, and now everybody's using coconut in everything. You want a lip balm, it's got coconut in it. Yeah.
Coconut oil, right? Coconut it's the big oil. Thing right now.
Right. So and then it's one of the second mosque which was built in the world is also in the same place. So you get a congruence of influence in that place. Trigonometry was sort of invented there. And that's where I come from. Yes, Kerala, and you should visit it. Ayurveda, which is herbal medicine, is big there. A lot of people from here, Clearwater, go down to Kerala to get a Ayurvedic massage for a week.
Really?
Right, they do. There are a lot of procedures. Like Ayurveda. It's not instant like allopathy. If something goes wrong with your system, you have to rush to the hospital. Allopathy is best, but Ayurveda is more. Long, prolonged treatment. So you can't go in for illness that needs rapid, correction or remedy.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's almost like the difference. So here in the medical industry, they have 2 different kinds of medicines. I mean, there's other names for it, but there's managed medicine, and then there's functional medicine.
Right.
And managed medicine is like if you got to go to the emergency room, or if you need you have a problem and you need to get on some medication, or you need to get some kind of surgery. Right. Whereas functional medicine is more like the nutrients you're putting in your body. Right. Are you exercising? Are you keeping yourself fit for the longevity?
Right.
Are you setting the base up? Whereas management is like, oh, I need something fixed, my arm, or like when I got my burn,
right?
Go to that, like managed care or something.
Right.
Okay.
And a lot of countries in Europe are adopting a combination of both.
Yeah.
What they call it holistic.
Right.
So hospitals and Germany and all have adopted this now. So what they do is when you go for prolonged illnesses, like you said, managed, then they decide to go for allopathy. Otherwise, they stick to homeopathy, and Ayurveda is big there. So I think very soon that will happen in the United States too.
Kerala, land of the coconuts.
Yeah, 1497, Vasco da Gama landed there. 5 years after Columbus, he thought he was going to India.
Yeah.
And he landed here, discovered the Americas.
Yeah.
America, Vespucci was supposed to have discovered it. But Vasco da Gama went around the Cape of Good Hope, which is Africa. And then he went to India. Many of the ships were being destroyed there. So he managed to go around and get to India, and he landed in Kerala. So the sea route to India was actually discovered by Europeans, and that's right there, Kerala. So Kerala is a very important destination now, very historical.
So Kerala, on the map, where would we find Kerala? Because honestly, I've never heard of it.
Oh yeah. If you look Middle East, a lot of people don't go beyond Middle East, Saudi Arabia and all that. If you go further before you get to Japan and all that, so the Central Plains is the south, just below the Himalayas are the Indian subcontinent and Sri Lanka. So it's very much like a panhandle, like Florida, but it's got a wider mass, and the tip of it on the southwest, it is Kerala. Right. So if you go further in the down, you get Sri Lanka, but you have Arabian Sea, Indian Ocean, and Bay of Bengal is on the other side. All those three meet together at that point.
Yeah. And so obviously a very nice warm climate. How else are you going to grow coconuts?
Right. People love it. God's own country, they call it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, so you were born and raised in Kerala.
I was born there, but I moved to Bangalore because my father had his businesses in Bangalore, which is to the north of Kerala. And that's the place where, a lot of people here don't understand when you call your credit card company and say, hey, I got this problem with my bill. The guy who's answering you. Yeah. Saying, hey, I'm St. Paul from Minnesota. He's actually sitting in Bangalore.
Yeah. And I think some people kind of catch on.
Yeah, they catch on.
So sometimes when they give me those names, I go, what's your real name? Because it's not Paul.
It's not Paul.
I know it's not Rob or Mike or Janet.
Right. So that's Bangalore, and I grew up there. My father had a lot of businesses. He had a restaurant, he had a wholesale cigarette and grains, and then he had a granite quarry. So he was a man who would get up at 4 a.m. and sleep only at 11.
Wow.
Multiple businesses, So that's where I grew up.
So your father owned his own businesses?
He owned his own businesses. Yeah, he's one of those people who had like 2 or 3 cars, and he was only the only person in the whole town who had a car. So people would want to go run to the hospital because their wife was delivering or somebody had a heart problem. They would come rushing to our home at odd hours. Can I get a ride?
Wow. So your family kind of stood out a little bit.
Oh, we did. Yeah, we did. Because we had a lot of tenants. My dad had tenants, and most of them worked elsewhere, but they would spend most of the money, give their money to our family because they bought provision in our store or they ate in our restaurant. And my dad had a farm too, growing, rearing cows to give milk and so forth. So,
wow, your father did a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Quite diversified, I guess you could say, right? He
was. So.
Wow.
That's my early business experience that I had.
So let me ask you: would you say were you guys fairly wealthy compared to the other people in the area, or would you say you were more of like a middle class, or where would you say your family kind of fit in? And how old were you around this time?
I was 6-7 years old when he had all those businesses, and then he had most of them till I was 18 or 19 before cancer, slowed his, growth in the business field. But, we were fairly wealthy. We had like 3 cars. We had trucks, Mercedes trucks, 312s and 512s.
Wow.
Yeah, and a lot of people, used to borrow those cars. Yeah. Come in, and so but we didn't realize it at that time. I would go into my restaurant, I would get something like a donut, put it into my pocket, hot ones, and then my friends would be waiting for me behind the building. I would go give it to them for free,
Yeah.
and they would follow me around. So I was kind of quite popular in school. I didn't know for what reason it was, but
Right.
not for the right reasons.
Yeah. So it sounds like you guys grew up with the right principles, though, and the right character. It sounds like you're, because you guys didn't seem like it was going to your head that, hey, we're a well-off family here, and you guys are, you're beneath us, and it sounds like you guys had the right principles put into you.
Yeah, it was true, because my dad made sure, because he was a self-made man. Mm-hmm. He had left Kerala and come to Bangalore, and he built his own, sort of empire, so to speak.
Yeah.
So he made sure he passed on those work ethics to us. So summer holidays, I would get up at 6 in the morning. I'd go to the store and I would work in the store till 10 or 11 at night. I didn't go to take lunch. Lunch came to me.
Right.
Or I would be sitting in the restaurant. At 6 years old, I would sit in the restaurant. There were no credit cards or anything as such. And, people would come and give their small slip of paper that they were given after they finished their meal. And that was, 10 rupees and 50 pies, and they would come and give it to me, and they would give 20 rupees. So I'd give back the change. So I didn't know how much to give back. So my uncle would stand there and say, 20 minus, so I give it back. So within no time, by the time I was 7 or 8, I had math running to my head. I would just look at the person and give him change like that. Mm-hmm. And then my exams, which are like my 10th grade exams, 2 of the people in the store left because they had some family emergency. They couldn't work. And my dad called me and said, I want you to work in the store. And I said, listen, I can't. I got my exams, and this is a make or break, because I get to choose which college I go to based on how well I do in the exam. Mm-hmm. He looked at me and said, listen, if you're a kid who can study anywhere, you can study here too. It shouldn't make a difference. So if you don't learn that now, you're not going to ever learn it. So I took my books, and I was working and studying. I came, I had the first class, which is 60% plus is a first class.
Yeah.
So I passed all my subjects with honors that year. And my dad said, see, I told you, if you got something is important to you, you don't let other things around your life disturb that. You should still be able to achieve it, no matter what life throws at you. So those are like lessons I learned when I'm 14 or 15. That's I'm not fully given justice to it.
Yeah.
But I still stay grounded. Whatever I have, it helps me. I look at other people around me. I see the suffering, and I know, if I'm given something extra, I should pass it on to people. Mm-hmm. And I should help other people. So, that's what I do right now.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. So you were born in Kerala, then you went to Bangalore.
Right.
And then, and so you did business with your father.
Right.
And you learned it firsthand, right? Not a business school or anything.
Right.
Like you said, you're 6, 7 years old working in the store.
Right.
You're dealing with, probably around 8 or 9, you're already dealing with issues of other employees and things like this. Not learning anything from school.
Right. No.
Which school is usually pretty bad at teaching actual business, right? You're learning it firsthand from your dad.
Right.
So how old were you when you left and you came to the Americas, and why did you leave to come to the Americas?
Well, when I was 19, my dad had cancer. Mm-hmm. So then I saw the man who was so powerful in front of me. In my eyes, he was very powerful. He could do almost anything, and right. I admired him for that. He had a short temper. He was one of the best bosses to work for, because any boss I worked after that was so easy to get along with.
Oh, yeah.
He's a hard taskmaster. So when he got cancer, it kind of defeated something within me. And I began to feel, can this happen to people? Mm-hmm. And then I was working in my dad's quarry. We made hollow blocks. We had several trucks which supplied building materials to construction sites. And I began to think that I need to go back to college in engineering. I made a lot of money. If I got an engineering degree, I would have made, say, at that time, a 500 rupee per month, which is $10 to $12 in U.S. money. Mm-hmm. But I was already making $50,000 per month with the business my dad was running, as a turnover per month. So the money was a big pull for me to not go for studies. But then I realized I need to get some kind of professional certification or training, so I can further help in the business. So I went back to engineering. I still continue to help with the business. And then once I graduated, I decided to come to the U.S. To pursue a degree in project management.
So let me ask you really quick. Let's rewind a little bit. So here you are. You're running these businesses, right? And it sounds like you and your father had a good relationship. Even while you're growing up, it sounds like he was very stern and held you to a certain standard, but he still loved you as a son, and you guys had a good son-father relationship. So when he got cancer, you're obviously taking over more responsibility. Is that correct? And so you got it into your head that you needed some kind of further education. Now. And so I'm just trying to see if you can remember what your mindset was like, because if you're here and you're running the business and everything's going good and you've been running it for all these years since you were a child, what was it about furthering your education that you thought you needed that you didn't have? Looking back in hindsight, so I'm sure you had a different mentality then. But now you have hindsight. You can look back with more experience and knowing. What is that kind of mentality? And
I know. I think you're very good in catching that, because I had a lot of friends, who went to colleges with me or school with me, and they would come by when I worked, and they would say, "Hey, we did this in college. We did that in college." And they had a completely different life of their own, because their fathers were professionals who came home by 5:30, no free time. And at that age, it looked like they were having more fun than I did.
Okay.
I was kind of missing my childhood, they were having a lot of fun. And secondly, I was in a quandary. Should I do my own business? Should I start my own business? Or should I go work as a professional? And my mom never was kind to the way life we had, because my dad left at 4 a.m, 11, and she would tell me, I was the eldest, Vijay, you better get a 9-to-5 job so you can come home and spend time with your family.
Okay.
So there were all those
mother
factors.
Was a little bit of an influence there, because we didn't really talk about her either.
Right. Mother taught me some 3-4 languages. I can speak 4 languages straight. I can read and write in 3-4 of them.
What languages?
It's a Malayalam is from Kerala, which is a palindrome. You spell it the same way back and forth. The first dictionary was written by a German, a lot of German words in it.
Now, what is that?
Malayalam, Malayam. It's the language of Kerala.
Malayalam. Okay.
Each state in India has got its own language.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right. And Tamil, which is one of the oldest languages.
Tamil.
And then Bangalore, they speak Kannada, like Canada, like it's Kannada.
Like French, Canadian, north of North America?
Us, but it's said Kannada with a K, so it's a different language altogether.
Okay,
and then,
so it's not like all A and a boot.
No, it's just impossible to learn that. And so it's and then Hindi, which is our national language, which because of the British, we still speak English as an official language, but the national language is Hindi.
So that's actually 5 languages.
Right.
If you count English.
Right, if you count English, yeah. But English is taken for granted,
It is, but it's still a language.
It is still a language, yeah.
Okay. So your mother taught you, did she teach you English as well?
Or she did, yeah. Right. I still remember Robinson Crusoe, the Gettysburg Address, all that was her telling me, read it this way, read it that way.
Wow.
And she didn't go beyond 10th grade, but she would be the one sitting me down and say, you got to catch up, because she saw how busy my dad was trying to get me to get involved in the business. So she was afraid that I will also become like that 4 to 11 kind of guy. And, so she worked hard too. She took care of the farm at home, and, she was the one in charge of the dairy and all, and the poultry and all getting the rent from the tenants. So she was very, but women tend to have a secondary role to play in life. Not until recently, even though their functions were as important as that of a man, because they contributed to the other half. They created the whole. They created the picture of the whole. But, something a woman does like cooking, what's the big deal? Anybody can cook. But it's an important function because everybody has to eat at least once a day.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
the traditional role, man put the food on the table and the women cook the food.
Right.
So that was the period, so now it's changing a lot, all the world over. Women are coming in, and they are able to do any job a man can do. Yeah.
So we're going from like defined roles to you can do whatever you want.
Whatever you want, right? Yeah.
How many people were in your family, Vijayn?
Eldest of 5.
So you had brothers and sisters.
Brothers and sisters, but I was the one who worked all these other jobs because my dad said, "You're the eldest. You got to take care of the family anytime. So you got to work the hardest." And that's something that responsibility comes to you at a very young age. Because he was the eldest. He took care of, I saw him taking care of his brother. His brothers didn't work as hard as him.
Yeah.
So that kind of went on. Because there's a system in India, when people die, people are buried. But in our system, they are cremated. And it's the eldest who get to light the funeral pyre. So it's a kind of a honor. So because the eldest is the one who carries on the responsibility.
Right.
So it's a very important traditional.
It's kind of like and I don't mean this. I mean this more like metaphorically, but it's like passing of the torch.
Exactly.
Right. So it's when I think about it, it makes complete sense that the person who's next in line, or to take care of the family, is the one who sends off the person who was currently taking care of the family and isn't anymore. Right. So it's their job, or not job, but it's their rite of passage to say, you go back to the earth, and now I will pick up the mantle and continue on. Well,
yeah. It's like passing the mantle, take over everything, that including the debts.
Yeah. The good and the bad, right?
The good and the bad, yeah.
Right.
So, and that question I had was, do I go for be a professional or become a businessman? So I would ask people all these questions, and I asked my own dad that. He looked at me, smiled, and said, "You got to discover that for yourself."
Right. What is the difference? Well, do you think, what was the difference in your head between a professional and a business person? Because in America, we think of business people as professionals.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yes, we do.
It's like so in America, blue collar, white collar.
Right.
But obviously you were thinking differently, or had a different mindset, at least back then.
Right. Yeah. You never took a day off. A businessman never took a day off.
Right.
He took days off at his, liking. Right. But never on a Sunday,
Right.
Or he never took time off to take the family elsewhere because it had to wait for what project he was involved in at any particular time. Those, or 9 to 5, he said, professional always had a 9 to 5 job, or maybe 9 to 8 even. But he came home, then he had somebody pay him per month. But a businessman, he made a lot of money, or he didn't make anything at all. Right. So, but my philosophy and approach was always, I had a lot of business experience being with my dad, and, the complete environment was business. So I didn't see the other side. Even though I had people, I would pay, on Sundays, I would pay 2,000 people, cash. The number of people who worked in my dad's quarries and trucks and all this, around 2,000 people. So I would divide between Saturday and Sunday, and I was 14 or 15. It's all cash. So get them to get their signature, or, put their stamp on stamp paper, put their thumbprint.
You were 15 or 16?
Yeah, I was
paying out that kind of money?
I was paying out that kind of money.
You guys never got robbed? Were you ever nervous of that?
No, I never thought about it that way, but I was cautious. I walked around. I didn't walk around with something bulging from my pocket. I put it in my shirt because it's all cash, go to the bank. Yeah. And I'm sure people would know, look, this Saturday, this guy pays.
He does it every Saturday.
He does it every Saturday. But somehow, I would come home at 1 in the morning, and I had a 2-wheeler. It was not a 4-wheeler. I'd come home at 2 in the morning.
Like a motorcycle.
Like a motorcycle, yeah.
Yeah.
And I never thought it to be a place that I would get robbed. But looking back now, I feel, I put myself in a lot of danger.
Well, you didn't put yourself in danger. It just was a risk.
Right, it was a risk.
Right?
Yeah.
You don't go out there saying, "Hey, I'm going to put myself in the lion's mouth."
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
But looking back, I think we all do that as kids, right? Especially young guys. Right. I think young guys are more risky than women when it comes to physical activities, like jumping off the roof.
Yeah, you're wearing a bulletproof vest,
Then you look back and you're, boy, that was dumb. But as a young person, you just don't see it risky. We learn risk.
Right.
What is risk as we get older, right?
That's true. Yeah.
So it sounds like your father, how we would label him today, was basically an entrepreneur.
He is. He was, yeah.
Yeah. And so everybody talks about, it's very popular today to be an entrepreneur and that word hustle and all this. Mm-hmm. But your dad he didn't have that. He literally was just doing.
Doing it, yeah.
He didn't need somebody to tell him, hey, what was your father's name?
Narayan, okay. Narayan, Narayan.
Narayan.
Yeah, and same last name, Nairs. Yeah.
Okay, so Narayan, your father, Narayan, Narayan.
Yeah.
So he's out there doing it. Nobody's telling him, Narayan, you need to hustle. No.
Right.
He knows what he needs to do.
Right.
And he was actually so deeply involved that his family life, maybe suffers, not the right word, but he was a little bit more absent.
Yes.
And so it was your mother who was really kind of keeping the family unit as a family together while he was out there, providing, but also doing, what he wanted to do as far as his passion or his drive.
Right.
It's interesting because I like Steve Jobs with Apple. You say what you want about the man, and he was very driven, and he kind of had a very... people talk about him personally and his home life, and they say, he wasn't very good to his family, and he was kind of a jerk to people, but he was a visionary, and he was driven that way. And he didn't need somebody or a self-help book or, there wasn't even YouTube back then to say, hey, this is hustle, you need to do this. He just did it.
Yes.
And that's kind of like the way your father was.
Yes,
and he was just very driven and... but he did spend. He had to spend some time. He had 5 kids.
Yes.
So there was some part of the family life there.
Right. And anytime he spent with us, he got a moment with us, it would be full of advice. So that remains in your head because that's very few moments he spent with you.
Right.
And that.
But he's learning so much just by doing that. Right. He wants to share that.
Right. Exactly.
He's got to have some kind of an outlet. Right.
Exactly. Yeah. Like Tagore said, if you stand at the sea and stare at the water, you're not going to cross it just because you're staring at the water.
Right.
You got to get in there and do it. Like we talked about.
You got to swim or grab a boat or something.
Right. Yes.
How you do it is a lot different, but you got to do something.
Yes, you got to do something. You can't keep thinking about doing something. You have to do it.
Yeah. So all right. So bring us to America. I asked a little bit about your mom. Unless there was something more about your mom before you took off, you want to share with us?
No, Mom was she was very strong. You see a lot of people, you think the strongest person is the one who makes a lot of noise and does a lot of movements, which was my dad. But to put up with that is somebody, somebody who's strong, who doesn't show it as much because she's still around. She doesn't. She's a better business manager, money manager than my dad, because she learned from my dad. Plus, she had that conservativeness, to not go and spend money as much. So that's a deep influence, and I make it a point to call her once a week. I start my Monday off by calling her.
Today, still.
Yes, even now. Yeah, even now. I try to bring her here, and she doesn't want to.
Right.
So I call her, talk to her, and a lot of things you learn from, when you run. I run things by her that I think I want to do for the week, and she will throw things at me, which, I don't realize till after some time. The thought comes to me, oh, no, that was the right thing to ask her. So that's something, I think of her. I'm glad she's still around.
What was your mother's name?
It's Lakshmi.
Lakshmi?
Which is the goddess of wealth.
Okay. So she's with Narayan, your father.
Right.
Lakshmi. She creates the wealth, and
she keeps it there for him.
But I do want to get into your whole. The next thing I want to get into is you coming into America and what that was like. But before we finally leave Bangalore, you said your father had got cancer, and how it sounds like he had to slow down at the business. And how was that? What was that like with your mother, and how did that affect her? Because you said it impacted you, because you kind of saw your father as a strong figure, always there, and then all of a sudden, it was not weakness, but it was mortality. And that it sounded to me like that was your first taste of mortality, where wow, bad things can happen to anyone,
right,
including my dad.
Right.
How'd that affect your mom?
Yeah, it was hard for her, but then I was never aware how strong she was, because years later, I was 18 or 19, I didn't realize my mom was going through so much till 6 or 7 years later, and then after it passed away, she began to tell me a lot of stories.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of, because it was a business that my dad owned, the other stakeholders who were trying to take it over, and I was hardly 18 at that time. And there were people trying. My doctors gave my dad 3 months to live. First time they discovered he had cancer. He was chatting with me, and I saw a white patch. But the man beat cancer. 5 years he beat cancer, because all he did was he made sure he went to the hospital on time. He took the right medication, and he did as his doctors told him to do. And
he's very disciplined.
Very disciplined, yeah. He takes walks in the mornings, no matter what. And he was told to continue life as if nothing happened. So he got involved in the business, and he kept in the business, even though he had all those marks of radiation on his face. He never stayed away from the business, but that kind of kept him alive.
Gave him purpose.
Purpose, yeah. And we all need that purpose, in our life, a goal or something like that.
Yeah.
Even though Osho says the ultimate goal for anyone is to lie down in your grave pit, But what do we do till then? So we need a goal to, get there. And that kept him alive. And my mom, I would see her crying at times. But then I remember asking her, what are you crying about? And she said, nothing. And she would move away. And I knew it was bothering her, but I was too young to realize what it was at that time. It was a family of 5. I was the eldest. She was probably thinking, what's going to happen to the family and all that we had. And that's all going to come down in one stroke, because people at that time did not realize cancer is a treatable disease. Cancer is not infectious. So a lot of our family friends began to leave us, so to speak, because they thought they will get cancer because they're talking to us or they're coming to our home. Because cancer was nobody got proper education at that time of cancer.
Right. The knowledge it was a lot of ignorance.
A lot of ignorance, people, and there were people who got to know cancer in the later stage of their life or in an advanced state. So there was no escape for them. So cancer meant death for a lot of people. So when somebody got cancer in the initial stage, it didn't matter. They were told, not to go,
It's almost like getting the HIV virus.
Yeah.
Basically in the 70s, 80s, if you got it, you're dead.
You're dead, yeah.
And now we see people are living like 15, 20 years.
Right,
so they, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you get the HIV virus, it turns into AIDS.
Right.
And then but you can have the HIV virus for years now.
Right, yeah.
And so it's just ignorance.
Yeah.
So nobody really knew about it, but your father sounds like he was very disciplined. And he truly didn't let the cancer take hold of his mind.
Right. That's where I saw another side to him. Even though, you're told your end is in 3 months or 6 months.
Yeah.
And there are people coming and telling me, hey, you better take over the reins of the business soon because your dad won't live beyond 6 months. Complete strangers would come and tell me that.
Wow.
So he was hit with that, and how we fought back was an inspiration too. So if I fall sick, God forbid.
It makes me think of what's, again, something that Steve Jobs said. I think it was at a Stanford. He was saying to a Stanford, the graduates, and it was like a commencement address or something. And he said, nobody, and this is after he got diagnosed with cancer, and he said, nobody wants to die.
Right.
Even people who want to get into heaven don't want to die to get there. And I mean, I was just like, geez, you know.
Very true.
Cancer really changed him as a man too, because you could see it. He went from kind of cocky, he got a little bit of humble pie. I guess mortality does that to us.
It does. We don't realize, we go to a funeral and we don't realize that could be us.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
No, it's true. I've had people pass in my life, but it was really my mother's passing that just last year. It just changed me.
Yeah.
It's like, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So time's up, right?
Yeah.
All
They
right.
don't make them anymore, dads and moms, so they have the deepest influence on you.
That's it. They don't. You can't make them, right? So let's talk about you going to America now. How old were you? And did you go straight from Bangalore?
Yeah, I went from Bangalore.
How old were you when you left? So and this
I
had
was-
something to do with your continuing education, correct?
Right, yeah.
Okay.
I was working for a project management company, consulting company. And I did a lot of consulting, construction, multiple complexes. So I would go out and draw out a schedule for project management, construction phase.
Here in America?
In India.
Oh, in India.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they used to get a magazine called Project Management Institute magazine, which is a project management journal. So I used to read them, and I used to get a list of all the schools that offered a degree in project management. Then I told myself, man, I'm going to go for that degree, I need to get that. And, when you come to America, you always think, oh, the streets, the pavements are all full of gold, you can get there. And I used to watch movies, Hollywood movies. I was crazy about Hollywood movies. There were only 2 theaters that showed Hollywood movies. And
You guys didn't have Bollywood back then, right?
No, Bollywood was there, but it was always not the Bollywood we know now. You wouldn't probably even see a kissing scene on the, because they would come to the man and woman coming together, and then they would show the sky.
Oh, right.
Censors were very strict.
Yeah.
And not
Culture.
that culture. But in American movies, it's very realistic. When Clint Eastwood drew the gun and shot, we really believed you're shooting that guy. They were so very realistic. Go ahead.
You guys would jump, right?
Yeah. Go ahead, make my day, punk.
Who's that? Dirty Harry.
Dirty Harry.
Wow.
Yeah, or watching Marlon Brando say, I could have been somebody, I could have been anybody, but I'm a bum.
Wow. Wow.
All that influences you a lot. Mechanism goal and all that. Yeah. And then so you come to America with, you don't see anything except, oh man, this is going to be a fun ride for me.
Right.
And I went to college in North Carolina, Western Carolina University, because the chairman of that business school was the chairman of the Project Management Institute.
Okay.
So I thought I can study under him, and because I was doing a lot of project management.
Right. You figured go to the best.
Yeah. And I arrived on 14th August 94, and that was called VJ Day, Victory in Japan Day.
Oh, okay.
And as soon as I got off the airport, I was walking by, I saw VJ Day.
You're like, hey.
I was like, man, I'm VJ, and they call it VJ Day.
They set all this up for me?
Yeah. And the couple who, it's so nice. They came, the geology professor and his wife, they are retired. Mm-hmm. And that's one thing I noticed in America. People volunteer, do things for other people that I was not used to. People, tend to be selfish, because it's all a lot of people, so they tend to take care of their own, because the resources are limited. So if I give my resources away, that means I have less of it.
Right.
But in America, when that man and his wife came to pick me up, I was so moved. So I took out money, like $50, and said, yeah, thank you for the ride, thank you. They took me to a restaurant, bought me lunch, and dropped me to my dorm. And I took out $50, and I said, yes, $50, and
Wow.
they're like, no, we didn't do it for the money.
Right.
I was like scratching my head. why did they do it? Why did they do it? Maybe they want me to do something for them, mow their garden or something. But they were so nice, and that's the first taste of America that I had. That people volunteer, people help each other, people are nice to other people.
Different culture.
Yeah. And I
cultural. You don't need real borders.
Right.
You have cultural borders.
Right. Yeah. Cultural borders, and the guy, I was only one in the dorm because the school had not started yet.
Yeah,
I didn't have a car, and the guy who was the monitor, he came over. Hey, you need anything? You need to make an international call? Come to my room. I was like, man, but it costs money. It's $3 per minute. He said, it's okay. You can make it from my room.
Wow.
I was like, man, are you crazy?
Were you paying like $1 million tuition back then? Or what?
It was like $3,000 at the time,
Yeah.
Per semester, because I was out of state student, foreign student.
Mm-hmm.
And but we had.
And when was this? You said August
94.
94.
Right.
Just right now in my head, I'm just thinking of what was going on in 94 and. The 90s?
We had finished 92. We had finished the Gulf War. HW was the president at that time.
Yeah.
And then 94, we got Clinton in the White House at that time. Yeah. So it was a nice time. Everybody let's enjoy.
Yeah, outside the wars and, some of the race things that happened, like Rodney King and things like that in America, I mean, it was, I tend to say it was kind of like a golden era of education, music, movies. It was just...
Yeah,
everybody was just kind of really getting along and not worrying so much about the.
Yeah. I think till 2000, till the bubble burst, America was nice because the economy was doing well, and so people had a lot of spending power.
Yeah, we came from the 80s where we didn't have money.
We didn't have,
in our country.
Interest rate was 14 or 15% or almost 18%, right? For the houses, mortgage was 12% or 14%.
Right.
And then it began to drop in the late 90s.
Yeah.
So, it was a good time. And plus, like movies, I loved the movies. Your Oscar season comes around, there's not many movies I want to go see. But in the 90s, they were like, September to December, you had the best movies you could go watch. And that's before video and all that.
Yeah.
Home entertainment took off, right? Theater was always a nice place to go watch movies.
Yeah.
So it was a nice time. I went first visit to a Hardee's and I ordered tea, and she gave me iced tea. And I took that and walked. I said, why is it so cold? I took a sip and I threw it.
And it was probably sweet tea, right?
Yeah, sweet tea. And I went back and said, I asked for tea. She said, that's tea. No, this is not tea. This is water. And I had an accent. I had a thick accent. And, I was told, first thing you got to do when you meet new people is let them know you're friendly. Mm-hmm. So you got to say, hi, how are you? Mm-hmm. And let them digest that. Then next thing you tell them, they will understand you better. If you straight away start talking in your Indian English, they're not going to get it.
Right.
In fact, I remember, I know we'll talk about this, Jeffrey Gitomer met me 8 years later in Toastmasters, and he came to the table. We had a Toastmasters table in New Jersey. Mm-hmm. 8 years after I first joined Toastmasters, he saw me and I said, hi, Jeffrey, how are you? A long time. He said, you still got an Indian accent.
Yeah. Well, we need to get up. We'll work our way up to that because he's written quite a few books, and he's does he do coaching and things like that?
He used to coach. I remember when I was in Hornets Nest, that is in Charlotte, North Carolina. That's the first club I joined. Mm-hmm. And he had 2 people that he would walk around, run around with, and he was telling them things to do. And they were in Toastmasters too. But he was part of the National Speakers Bureau at that time. Mm-hmm. But I didn't hear them become bigger speakers, but I'm sure he was in the process of coaching people, but he would not do it as a group. He would pick maybe 2-3 people he liked, and he would mentor them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's go back. You just came into North Carolina. You're drinking sweet tea.
Yeah.
You can make calls next door if you have to.
Right.
And when were you in America when your father passed?
I was in America, but he passed away in 2000. And he passed due to a heart heart attack, And that was in 2002.
Wow, not cancer.
But not cancer. He beat cancer in 96. He was completely cured of cancer. He didn't have any, cancer. He was disciplined and he took the medication. They even removed a part of his tongue because they thought the tongue was it started with the glands and then they removed the glands, then went up to the tongue. So they removed a part of the tongue, isolated the cancer, and he had to undergo speech therapy to begin to speak again. And his speech was never the same, and all his food were blended and given in, fed by mouth, but he could speak. But he beat cancer. So anybody who's out there thinking cancer cannot be beaten, it takes discipline. It takes
and the right mentality.
And the right mentality, right. And that willingness, don't give up.
Don't let somebody tell you you're going to die.
Right. Don't let somebody tell you, because you have the power to go when you want to go.
Yeah.
Within limitations, certain limitations, yeah.
Within reason.
Within reason, yeah.
At some point, if you're 96, all right. So I was, so your father's still alive, and you're a young guy. How old were you when you landed in North Carolina?
26. I was 25, 26, and then I decided, to find work here in America.
So you're a young man. These perceptions of America from the movies,
right?
Which I think, I think we all do. It's not just. I think it would be ignorant for me to say all foreigners have this idea of America, right? Because in America, if we haven't been to another country, we have this idea of Ireland, where they all just sit in a bar and drink warm beer all day, right? Or India, where it's like Slumdog Millionaire or something like that, And it's so you have these ideas, and now you're here.
Right.
You're a young man by yourself in a different country, not in a different state. Although some states in America could almost be like different countries, but you're in a different country where they don't speak your native language, right? And you're coming to learn something that you don't know very well, and you're a young man,
right?
26,
not
a teenager, but you're a young man.
Yeah. And I learned a lot of things. I learned to work. My first job, I was applying, and it was hard to get a job because I'm an Indian national. I don't have a work visa. So I'm given a permit. So I have to work in certain places. I can't work anywhere I like. My summer job, I power washed and painted a football stadium for 3 months for $4.20 a minute.
Wow.
Because you can't work outside campus. You're a foreign student, so you have to work within
an hour, though, right?
An hour, right?
$4.20 a minute is pretty good even by today's standards.
Yeah, it is per hour. Yeah, per hour, yeah.
Yeah, minimum wage was a lot lower back then, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's high now, but people were literally making $3 and $4.
Right. I had 2 degrees at that time. I had a master's degree in project management. I had an MBA in finance. I had a bachelor's degree in civil engineering. I had a diploma in law, and I was power washing a football stadium.
You mean your MBA and all that didn't automatically get you a $100,000 job?
It should have done, but you need a work permit for that, right? Yeah. As you're a foreign student, you can work in the campus. You can do any job you like. But then you can't get a $100,000 job as a foreign student,
Right.
So you have to wait your turn, and so you have to apply. And so while I was waiting, I started selling satellite dishes door to door in North Carolina.
Back then, like those big ones that they used to put,
like 6 feet.
Yeah. Now they're small, right?
Yeah.
But back then they were literally
fill this room, and it has to face a certain direction, southwest. That was my last line, I would say. Let's go look at where we can put this thing.
Wow. Yeah.
They say you got to know that customer signal for buying. That's when you move in with that need to push to sell. So when at a certain point I was learning all that, and I was so happy doing that. Even though I made only commission, $175 they gave you, I would put door hangers from morning to afternoon, and then my managers would get the call and they would set up appointments for me, like 4 to 6 appointments. And I was supposed to sell at least one that day. And very often I went without selling one. And sometimes I had driven so far away from where I stayed, I would sleep in the car. And it was a nice change from, me leading a luxurious life back in, India, where my brothers were still there, and they would tell me, hey, we are doing this, we are doing that. And I'm like sleeping in the car here.
Right.
And it never occurred to me, what am I doing? But I had that will. I had to do this. It's a journey. If I'm put here in this position, it is for me to learn something. And so I met so many wonderful people in the process of knocking doors. Sometimes I would feel guilty selling to some people because they were so nice. They'd say, what do we need to sign? All it took was $1, right? $1 and a dream. So they had to pay $1, sign off on the paper. Then I took it to my office. They took care of the rest. And they were so nice that they would offer me tea, coffee, cake, and all that. I said, I'm selling you. I'm selling you something. And I would feel guilty with some of the people I sold to. That's something I couldn't get over with. But sometimes I would get angry with people, and I had a lot of adventures that day. I would knock on a door. Somebody looked through the door and they would start running. And I had this blue blazer on, with the cufflinks, the brass cufflinks.
Yeah.
So I'd look through the window and he would jump out through the back window and run. And I would chase the man. I said, I'm just selling satellite dishes here. And I would finally...
satellite guy's chasing you down to sell you a dish.
I catch up with him. You know what? He's in the country illegally, right?
Yeah.
So he thought I am from the immigration services.
Oh, my God. That's funny.
And I was there to sell. So I had all these adventures, and I began to understand people, and it was a good exercise for me. I knew how to deal with people back because of my experience, perception. I'm very much an introvert. But because I talked to people, I began to understand them, and I loved interacting with people. Then I knew I had to be in a job which has to be interpersonal communication and so forth, because I was very good with people. I could interact with them.
Are you sure you're an introvert, or did you just say you were an introvert? Because if you're really good with people, and the last thing an introvert wants to do is go door-to-door sales.
Right. That's true. But I wouldn't, if I'm in a crowd, I wouldn't talk much to people. When someone came and talked to me, then I would open up and then I would, start talking to them.
So in other words, you weren't an initiator.
You're not an initiator. Right. But that was a job that I tried something new because I had to go knock on doors, get out of the car, knock on doors, whether they opened it or not for me. And, there were instances, rural North Carolina, somebody came out with a gun too. But it happens, right? So I had to take...
Because people are people.
People are people. People are people. And you can't put everybody into one, can't brand them as one, having one subset of a character. They're so varied. Even a person you don't like has something good in that person. So I knew that, it was Ralph Waldo Emerson who said, every person you meet in life is superior to you in some way. In that, you learn of him.
Right.
So that's...
You can learn something from everyone.
That person, person, what he's good at, learn that from him.
Let me ask you this. So you're selling satellite dishes, right? Had you finished school in North Carolina yet?
I had finished my project management degree.
And how long did that take?
It took me 16 months to finish it because I had some credits from my MBA.
Right.
I could transfer.
Okay.
33 credits, and I did a couple of projects, import, export to Indonesia of medical appliances. And then I had that 1 year, they gave me a 1 year practical training permit, so I could go work anywhere. But now I have the permit, but I don't have the job.
Right.
So I had to go apply because then people would tell me, look at me and say, hey, after this 12 months, what happens to you? I said, I need you to apply for a permit for me so I could work for you. And many of the employers were not willing to do that then in the 90s. And that's where I was at one of the job fairs and I met a gentleman named Howard Stern who taught communications at NYU.
Howard Stern?
Howard Stern. Yeah, his name was Howard Stern too.
Okay. And he taught communications.
Right, communication.
At NYU.
NYU.
And there's another Howard Stern who's in New York City.
Right.
Who works in communications. That's pretty popular.
Right. And I've met people like that with popular names.
Yeah.
And I first I don't take them at face. I think they changed the name or something. But then they tell I had this name before the other guy did.
Yeah.
And so he he invited me to a Toastmasters club. Have you heard of Toastmasters? And I was fresh out of school. And I said, oh, Toastmasters, let's go there.
Right.
So I go there and it's all discipline.
Toasting.
Drinks.
Ireland.
Yeah.
Warm beer.
Yeah. I'm from Dublin, as Mike Myers would say.
Yeah. So you go to a Toastmasters meeting. Is this in North Carolina or is this in New York?
North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay, he was from New York in North Carolina
Right,
at the
he had
time.
moved down.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. He had moved down there.
Right.
All right.
So
he invited you.
Yeah. So I showed up there. They closed the door exactly at 7:15. You can't get in after that. And I had this habit of coming late to places. And when I couldn't get in, I was late only one day. I was never late again. And since then, I learned punctuality because of Toastmasters, being punctual somewhere.
Right.
And second day, I used to help put things away for them. And they said, hey, would you like to be the sergeant at arms? I said, what is that? And I said, nothing, will tell you what it is. I said, yeah, sign me up.
Now, how old were you at this point?
I was 28.
28.
Going on 28.
So this is 2 years after or 2 or 3 years around that mark when you had landed in North Carolina.
Right, yeah.
So you had been in America for 2 to 3 years, and now
Right.
you're going into Toastmasters as a new experience.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And so, and then, it helped me a lot because 3 months into Toastmasters, I was applying for jobs everywhere. I got a job at Sealand. Sealand, which
in Orlando?
In Charlotte, North Carolina.
Oh, okay.
They had moved from New Jersey.
SeaWorld.
Not SeaWorld, Sealand. They did logistics. Bought in shipping of all the shoes, Reeboks, all those commodities. Consignment packing all the way from Asia and other places to America. And my job was to write a program. So Nike and Reebok, all of them knew where the product was at any point in time.
Okay.
Based on inputs made by the shipping company.
Yeah.
So Sealand had just moved from New Jersey. In fact, they moved in a very dubious way that people found out they were laid off after they read the Star Ledger, New Jersey.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they still do that with jobs, right?
Right, yeah. But I was lucky, I just showed up. And 3 months into Toastmasters, I got this job. I said, man, I must be lucky. But I didn't realize that it was the Toastmaster experience that got me that job.
The experience.
Right. Because I learned to speak properly. I learned to time my speeches. I learned to have an objective to anything that I said, beginning, middle, and end. And I knew,
Speak with purpose.
We speak with purpose, persuade, art of persuasion. And Jeffrey Gitomer, the author of the Sales Bible, was a member of that club.
Yeah, or the Little Black Book of Networking.
Yes.
Yeah, he was actually very big back in the 90s and the early 2000s with his books.
Right. He was big. I didn't know he was that big. He was going on tours, and I was the vice president of education. After 6 months, I would call him and say, hey, Jeffrey, show up for the meeting, and he would never return my calls. But when he came to the meeting, he would tell people, I call because this guy is so persistent. He keeps calling me every week. And I did not know what that persistence meant to him because he practiced persistence when he did his seminars.
Yeah.
Right. Invest in yourself and so forth.
So you joined a Toastmasters club where this Jeffrey Gitomer, I'm saying that right?
Gitomer, right.
He was a member, but at that point, his business and everything was really taking off. I don't think he was quite at the height of his popularity yet.
He was not yet.
And here you are, the guy calling him, hey, you coming to this meeting or what? And he's like your dad. He's like, I'm out here trying to make all my money.
Yeah.
So you joined from an invite from a professor from NYU. You're within 3 months, you're applying for a job, and you got a job. Well, no. Within 3 months, you've been applying for jobs,
right.
but you land the job. And then within 6 months, now you're the vice president of education,
right? At
which is just under the president,
right?
And actually probably does the most work, right?
Exactly.
Is if the president's not even like your dad. The president is, I mean, they make a lot of things happen, but I would say like the VP's like your mom and a little bit of your dad, right? They do all the heavy lifting and all the work. And
they do.
So it sounds like it impacted your life in the fact that I think it, would you say? Because I always say that Toastmasters gives confidence, right? Self-trust. And so you had mentioned that you were speaking better. In other words, like in the English language, you were more comfortable. Would you say that that was the biggest thing that really kind of helped you, was give you that confidence to feel more comfortable with yourself here in a different culture? Or what were the big changes that you felt within those first 3 months or 6 months?
Oh, in Toastmasters itself was, the people would tell me, hey, speak English. And I would say, hey, I'm speaking English. They said, no, it doesn't come as English to us. That's okay, because accent, and it's Queen's English, right? It's British English. First floor, ground floor, schedule.
Right.
It's also different. And then we take people for granted because I drop syllables, right, so fast that the other person understood me because it was a language that's not my discovery or where I come from. So all I got to do is speak it and the other person will get it, So I would drop syllables to increase the speed and people got it. But here you don't. You got to, make sure every syllable is pronounced right. And like V would be, lower lip and upper teeth, V. And W would be like a whistle, W. But people would ask me, what's your name? I'd say, Vijay. And they would write down WJ. They say, no, it's Vijay. And nobody told me this is the problem.
Right.
But there's some evaluators who caught onto it, I had some good people, evaluators, they would say, pull me aside, other than the public evaluation they gave. You're making a mistake here, watch out for this. You're going too fast, and that feedback, I still carry those notes they gave me back in 96.
Really?
When they write notes to you, I still have it.
Wow.
Yeah, because those were changing years for me. I slowed down and I knew the effect of that because I was trying so hard for a job and I get a job in Sealand. The manager calls me the second day and says, hey, you worked in import-export because I was doing that as a student for the International Trade Center. I was helping people, the local people send apples and any of the produced furniture and all that from hickory to Saudi Arabia and Asia and all those places as part of a service that the government provided, the Small Business Trade Development Center provided to the local population. Local businesses. So I was helping them with that. So I had the import-export knowledge that I acquired through International Trade Center, which is a federal government assistance program.
Right.
So I went in there to see Sealand, and I would teach that to my fellow programmers because they were good at programming, but they had no clue of what the functional job was. How does import-export work? And so the manager calls me second day and said, can you train them? I said, I'm here second day. They said, no, you can train them. We know you can. And then I started training those people. And that came through only because of Toastmasters, because the way I put things together, organize my speech, my vocal variety, where I pronounce, the way how I pronounce, where I laid accent on, the words or the gestures I used, everything helped my presentations.
So actual skills.
Actual skills.
You were getting actual skills, like you just said, writing out your speech, organizing it, things like that.
Right.
So you actually applied yourself quite a bit.
I did, yes.
Because now you've been involved in have you been involved in Toastmasters since then consistently?
I've been, even when I moved to New Jersey in 98, I joined Toastmasters there, started many clubs, 18 chapters.
Wow.
In there, and I was president of 2 at the same time. Then I decided to be an area director, and then I was division director of the year. And then I decided to run for the top 3 office, and they used to call them district governor. And Lieutenant Governor Education and Training, Lieutenant Governor marketing, which was very cool. I like the lieutenant.
Yeah. As opposed to the trio now.
Trio. Or they decide to make it corporate. So you have that club growth director or the PQD, program quality director. It just
right.
So I ran for that, and the person who's running against me used to be the surrogate speaker of Mario Cuomo, ex-governor of New York.
New York,
and the other gentleman was president of a Lions Club.
Oh, wow.
And it was a 3-way race, and what happens, there's a runoff. If the top person doesn't get more than 50%, there's a runoff with the top 2.
Mm-hmm.
But I won by a landslide.
Wow.
Just by 2-minute speech.
Wow.
And we had 245 chapters in New York and New Jersey. And it was a nice, meaningful experience because, there's nothing like having the support of people in a country which is not your own, which you didn't come from. And then finding that among people, that people can appreciate the talent you have, any responsibilities that you can take up as long as you have that integrity and fulfill it. People will not keep supporting you all the time. You got to be a person of integrity. You got to deliver. If you say, I'm going to do something, you got to do it. And you got to work hard, make it look good, no matter what the gain is to you.
Yeah.
You got to deliver because you put your word out there. So that's a branding we create, self-branding, individual branding.
But it's actually a way to live. When you say that, because I like that you just said that because we self-brand, right? And we say, I believe in integrity, I believe in honesty, but do you live that way? So like you just said, if you have integrity, you say what you mean and mean what you say.
Right.
So you can say you have integrity, but if you don't actually have integrity, it's a big difference. And it sounds to me, you gained a lot of those principles, since you were 6-7 years old.
Right.
Your father was instilling those in you by working at the store. So I have to assume that by him being a disciplined man, that discipline was inherited, kind of went down as, especially for you, his second in command.
Right.
Even though mom was actually running the show, but, his second in command, that you were learning these from your father.
Right.
And so you're bringing these in, and you actually have these principles that you're living by.
Right.
And one of the things I was kind of getting at about Toastmasters, what I was getting at with the program, it sounds like you really applied yourself. So often we see a lot of people come in and they just kind of coast. And so if the first speech is, I believe you have your icebreaker, I believe the next one is organize your speech. But how many people actually apply themselves and work to organize their speech?
Right.
So if you don't, though, you're not really, if you're just trying to give a speech, almost like an icebreaker, except you're writing it out, are you really learning to organize? Right. And it sounds like you're the type of man that really applied and applied yourself to the program or to whatever was in front of you.
Right.
It sounds like the young 6-year-old, 7-year-old Vijay who just didn't have a choice.
Right.
You better learn to count. You better learn to do that math in your head.
Right, yeah.
Because uncle's not going to be there all the time.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. Because it's there. It's a proven technique. 80 years. Ralph Smedley did it in 1924, and it's developed over the years. So you pick up on that, and all you got to do is live by that. And because you're already doing it, why not do it to the best of your ability? Right?
Perfect.
Right, yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
In fact... So one of the things, you and I talked a little bit before this, and one of the things I think is very important is, are we giving our best all the time? I love the phrase everybody says to raise your standards. If you want to raise your quality of life or whatever, raise your standards.
Right.
Well, what are your standards? How high do you raise them? And I think the best way to raise your standards is if you're not giving your best in whatever it is that you're doing, you can raise your standards simply by doing your best all the time. It was like we were talking about with Edward, your friend.
Right.
He did a project and he wants to get something out of it, but just by doing the project, if he gave it his all, he's already raised his own standards because he learned. And so you can go into Toastmasters and learn the program, but what if you don't have that integrity? What if you don't have those base principles?
Right. It's all based on that. And if they say you need to have that and you don't do it, and you try to think, I can beat the system, it's all a system game. You got to know what the game is about and then play it. And then, for some time you'll get away with it. But ultimately, you're going to ask yourself, why did I do it? Because it didn't give you the long-range benefit or even short-term, or it has taken away something that you already had. Like getting drivers on the road, you're driving within speed limit. Then you see this guy next to you speed along, and then you're like, how can some people get away with it? And you would have got a ticket for doing that. But then you see, you don't see what's happening down the road with that person. He's probably getting a ticket in 50 or 60 miles from here. You don't see it. And then you think, oh, the system doesn't favor me. It favors him because he's able to break it.
Right.
But ultimately, people pay because that's how the system is built. You can get away with it for some time, but sooner or later you have to pay. So, there are a lot of restrictions in life that we can say, oh, I don't have this, I don't have that. I wish I only had this. So I wish I had a better car. I wish I had a bigger house. But you got what you got, and do the best with that because the other things will take care of itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got what you got because of the person you are.
Right.
If you want better, you have to become better.
You have to become better. Yeah. Invest in yourself. Become better.
Right. Yeah. What are there's 4 principles of Toastmasters. What are they?
Well, that's a table topics question. Integrity, truth, respect, and service.
Right.
Out of all these 4, it's integrity, which is most important because if you don't have integrity, nothing else matters. Service, what are you doing service for?
Right.
Or are you really respecting the person, or is just face value?
Yeah.
You respect some person, not the other person, because of what they are in your eyes.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And then service leadership is something that people don't understand. It pays you back, big time later down the years. But the most important thing is integrity, I think, because we think it's integrity for others, but it's integrity for ourselves. Because we got to do things like somebody's watching us. There are thousands of people here, Daryle. There are thousands, but they're invisible. Yeah, we don't see them. Doesn't mean we exist. If we live like that, with that principle, then we can be the same anywhere we go. Because we know we live a life with that integrity, that it doesn't matter if there are 1,000 people out there or there's nobody out there, because we don't change based on what people think of us.
Right. And, the reason I asked you that is because you did bring me that coin today, which I really appreciate. But it's I now that I think about it, the principles now were those chosen by Ralph Smedley? Was that from the get-go?
No, it was, I think he had that in spirit. He had used that in some places, but it evolved over a period of time with in there. Because the directors of Toastmasters, they're always busy thinking, what do we do next? What do we do? And they're planning for 5 years down the road. Yeah. Right? Any program that has come out now is been done 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So,
but I think those are good principles to have, though, right?
Right, so, very good principles.
And I think you said truth, right? But it's excellence.
Yeah, sorry, excellence. Yeah, they replace truth with excellence.
Yes,
right.
And so if you think about it, if you think about those 4 principles, you had those before you went into Toastmasters, right? So you had the integrity. You say what you mean and mean what you say. And you learn that again. Right. You had to use that. You had to learn that from a young man. You had the service. Because you were servicing your father's customers. But even when you would take the donut and go out and give it to the kids or whatever, you had more, they had less, and you were bringing them some kind of a joy and happiness, right?
Yeah.
And then you had the respect. You don't get far without respect, but obviously you respected your father.
Right.
Plus, the people, you're showing up and you're paying them, they're giving them their paychecks, you're respecting that.
Yeah.
And then you had the excellence part where, you just had to turn it on all the time. It wasn't you know, it wasn't like you or your father, especially back then, was logging into social media and saying, Vijay, if you just hustle, that's the way to go.
Right.
Like you guys had to live by these principles.
Right.
And so when you applied these to the program, it sounds like you catapulted because you already had these ingrained in you, and now these skills.
Right.
You're practicing these skills. You have excellence. So you're applying.
Right.
You're going to project 2,
Right.
and here you are organizing from the way you explain it. And you're like, oh, I learned to organize right there. And sometimes I've seen people go through the whole 10 steps, the whole first competent communicator.
Right.
And it sounds like, they started at here and like maybe they're a little bit there.
Right.
But it sounds like for you were like here and you got like that much out of it. And here you are in like project 5.
Right. Yeah.
And I think a lot of it comes from those principles.
Exactly. Yeah, you're right. I wasn't thinking about it but now, it's like reminiscing,
Yeah.
Experience is one thing, but when you think of that experience is when you gain wisdom. Now, when you talk about it like that, it does. It is a result of all those things, but you don't see it,
Right. Yeah, well, again, hindsight.
Hindsight, yeah.
Hindsight is 20/20, isn't it? You could be blind and hindsight's still 20/20. So looking back, but it just, because I guess I do see some people excel, but just you telling your story and me, fully listening to you and seeing what kind of a man, what kind of a kid you were as you were becoming a man, because we're shaped by our past, right? Like your father, your mom, everybody, there's a lot more people, but those are your main influences. And so it seems like you learned a lot of this as you were growing up to be a man before you even got to America.
Yes.
You had these.
Right.
And to hear how much you excel at things that you do,
right.
Not just Toastmasters, but those 4 really help. In Toastmasters, which is why I think it's on the back of that coin you gave me.
Right.
And it's part of their whole principle and their ideology. But it seems like that helped you in every facet of your life.
It did. Yeah, it did. Because, we were talking about brand building, and I know Edward will tell you this. He calls me for this movie and he says, I know Vijay picks up something, he'll do justice to it. That's the faith, in self-branding you give, you become a brand,
right?
And that's what we need to cultivate as individuals. Individuals can make a difference if they concentrate on building their brand, and then projects will come looking for you, and you don't have to take every project that comes to your door. Yeah.
So I'm in marketing, and whenever I think people use brand, like let's look at the old way, at least here in the in the U.S.
Right.
And people used to brand their cattle,
right?
Right. You put your mark on it, your signature,
right?
Right. And sometimes that's what they use for a business. It's almost like I'm branding something like in the side of the building or something, or on that shirt you're going to wear.
Right.
But we use brand usually for marketing and things like that. But I think what's most important is how we define ourselves. And so that's the big thing I've been going through and kind of saying, well, how was I raised? Who am I? Who do I want to be?
Right.
Right. And it just, so too often I see people, and like I said, they'll pick up the phone and they're just going to do a quick Instagram story or something. And they're like, this is who I am. And this is what, they want to put out this character, this brand.
Right.
But if you're not really living that brand, right?
Right.
Like you said, eventually you can speed,
right?
Not have the integrity, but you're probably speeding at a bunch of other things in your life.
Right.
Maybe through an important project.
Right.
Maybe through some important documents in front of you. God forbid you're like a investment planner or somebody's lawyer, putting their fares, because if you're speeding in your car and speeding through their documents the same,
right,
it's going to hurt you.
Yeah, it will hurt you, no matter what you do,
And other people.
Right. And then it'll defeat the purpose in your life, what you set out to do, if you have a big vision, that is. There'll always be people who are fly-by-night operators.
Yeah.
They'll see what's the best thing to sell right for the moment, and they'll come and try to do it, but and they might disappear. But people have this knack of, noticing them, catching.
The truth comes out, doesn't it?
Yeah, truth comes out, yeah.
Nothing beats the truth.
Yeah.
So let's go a little bit more. So you joined Toastmasters. You're working in Sealand.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't you eventually make it up to Pennsylvania?
Yes.
All right. Well, let's and
Interesting.
there's other things that happen, right? Didn't you eventually start teaching and become a dean and all
Yes,
this?
yes.
Yeah. Let's go into it.
Right. Okay. Well, that was I was in IT, so I was doing IT programming in New Jersey, and I did training too at the same place. And then the big bubble burst, and then before
the
that,
.com, right? The
.com
bubble.
Yeah, I started my own business from the basement of my home, an IT business, sourcing. So I didn't have my own people, but I would source from one company and put it in another company. So I landed a big client called I Won, like I won a lottery, iwon.com. And they were giving away like $10,000 every day just to boost the .com business. They had a website and they were trying to boost it. And that's a model that all Jeff Bezos and everybody tried to emulate, because Jeff Bezos was a visionary. At that time, he was able to say, right, people are not going to step out of their house. They're going to do all this shopping sitting at home.
Right.
And he's tried to use that vision to build his company. But there are a lot of people trying to build that model at that time. And Ivan was one of them. So I landed them as one of my clients. So they needed people, and I got them IT people from everywhere and sourced them. I would make a margin of $20 an hour each person I put in there.
Wow.
And that was my first business in the US that I started.
Yeah.
And I made, and then, the first month I made $35,000. So
Wow.
I said, this is good,
Yeah.
And when I started the business, I had a basement we have basements up in north.
We do.
We do.
Not down here, the water line.
Yeah, it was fully. I bought a table, I put it up there, I put a chair behind, put a phone, and made a few calls. I put on my tie and my shirt and went down to the basement every morning, never came up. I packed my lunch too, because I was afraid I would come on, switch on the TV and, get days of...
You went to work.
Yeah, I went to work. I didn't want to be. These are the days of our lives, watch soap and things like that. And because I knew a lot of my friends who did that between jobs, daytime TV, they get
the allure of the American Hollywood. And
Hollywood,
all that, right?
yeah. So I never came up 5:30. My wife came home. I would come up for a cup of tea. And this was that discipline again, it comes through as a process of the past, like you said. And so I made good money, and then the bubble burst. So a lot of my vendors went out of business, and a lot of my clients went out of business. And I was doing it alone, single-handedly.
And there went a lot of your revenue.
Revenue, right.
Yeah.
So I merged with somebody else, and then I started working as the vice president, doing the same thing, because they had a bigger operation. And I did that, and then again, things didn't go too well, so we decided to move to Florida. When I moved to Florida, I knew IT jobs were not much in this place, in down south, because it's all in Northeast. This was before the internet developed.
Now, when you say we, you mean you and your wife?
My
Or
wife and I.
you and a company?
My wife and I, and my company too. I tried to work from here with that company, but
Okay.
didn't. So one of the universities, local universities, they advertised for someone who could teach them business. They wanted an entrepreneurship instructor. And I said, let me apply, because I don't have a degree in entrepreneurship.
But you actually did it.
I did it. And that lady was so good, the dean of she interviewed me. And she said, you don't need a degree. Tell me 2 stories that you helped an entrepreneur with. And I went off on what I did. And she said, that was a Friday. She said, Monday you start teaching the class.
Oh, wow.
So I had a class in the morning and a class in the evening. So I became a management instructor at that university. And they have 32 campuses.
What school was it?
That's Kaiser University.
Kaiser? Okay.
Kaiser. And then 3 years later, I was the instructor of the year. I loved the entrepreneurship class.
Yeah.
I made everybody do a project on entrepreneurship. Pick your business, come with a business idea, and they have to do, location, PR work, cash flow statements. The business of any business is to stay in business. So pick the right idea, make sure, even if it takes some time, and they have to maintain the diary. I worked them hard.
And you came from a practical background, though. An entrepreneur,
right.
starting it, being raised in an entrepreneur family. This wasn't just academics. This was
exactly.
Hey guys, this is real.
And this is real.
Like, I'm looking at this. You will fail.
Yeah.
You're not making money.
And I had a lot of my students who went on to start their own business, even simple business like selling sandwiches out of the van. They made 50, 60,000. I had a kid who worked at Subway, and you'll be, $6 an hour. I said, you want to get $6 all your life? You're in this class, learn something, develop your own business, make sandwiches and sell.
Right.
How do I do it? Put in your car, take 20, 30, 40, 50, whatever you can, whatever money you have. Go to one of these offices where employees, they don't bring lunch. Sell them chips and a drink, $5. You make a margin of $1 or $2. I made him write his own business plan. Mm-hmm. A guy made $55,000 to $60,000 a year later.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I had a guy who would pick up garbage, $15 per household, and they had to drop the garbage somewhere to get rid of it. And this guy had some service experience. Then he started his own business, and he made good with that money. And there were people making beauty products. All a result of that class. I instilled in them that desire to be self-employed.
Yeah.
And because I was not only a person with business knowledge, I was also a toastmaster.
Right.
So I could inspire people. I could.
And you had to help them and teach them and train them.
Teach them. Yeah. So kind of like life coaching.
Yeah.
And a lot of them sometimes came from backgrounds their self-esteem was low. Mm-hmm. Or they thought money is a means to everything. If you don't have money, you can't get there.
Right.
So money is the root of all evil, they say.
And how you think about money is how you will treat money.
How you'll treat money, exactly. Right. So I had to change our mental attitude, the philosophy towards life itself before I could get them into it. And I did that in a couple of classes, even though it's not part of the syllabus.
Right.
I got them to
but
get
that was the important stuff, I think. I think what a lot of business schools don't teach.
Right. They don't.
They go by the syllabus. Mm-hmm. And you taught these kids minimum effort equals minimum wage.
Right. Yeah.
If you're okay with minimum wage, you can put in the minimum effort.
Right.
But, make your Subway sandwiches. But if not, make some damn sandwiches, get a van, start selling.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I know people who have bought strip malls with doing something like that.
but I think you just hit the nail on the head. That just goes to to me, and I don't know about people listening to this or watching it, but I'll tell you this: you get it.
Yeah.
Because the biggest hurdle when I look back in my life, but now when I look back in any of my friends or whatever, it is that self-esteem, isn't it? Even in Toastmasters,
confidence.
What stops people from getting up there
in
front of others? It's usually self-confidence or self-esteem or confidence.
Right.
Isn't it? And you're helping these kids with probably the most important thing that's not even in the syllabus.
It's not in the syllabus.
Nope.
Right. It is not. And, people don't recognize, and many of them are blameless. They are not to be blamed for what happened to them. And there are a lot of instances, we think of one or two specific instances why they have so low self-esteem. Mm-hmm. But it's not, because nobody has ever told them they can amount to something.
Right.
Right, and they're always being graded, which is our current education system. You have GPA. You got to get GPA. You get a C or a D. You're no good. But there are many different forms of intelligence that people are not aware of.
Right.
Not just the academic kind. And I'm Daryle, I'm making a prediction here, which is I feel the current education as we know will change or go out of business soon, in the next 10 years. Because now look at people can study so much from social media. They have to, of course, authenticate it, but there's knowledge everywhere. There's a master apprenticeship relationship. You can study through that. So formal education is not required unless it has something to do with within a scientific field, like medicine or technical engineering,
something along those lines.
Yeah, right. If you need to sell things, you need salesman, which is one of the biggest business and the best field to be in. If you want to make money, then you don't need an advanced degree. All you need is things like how to improve your self-esteem, a methodology, a disciplined approach, and a go-to situation, scenarios, what happens, what do you do when this happens. You don't need an advanced degree for that.
It's interesting. I've read somewhere, and I've heard a lot of people say this, they say the wealthiest people are the best communicators. And Toastmasters is about communication and leadership.
Right.
So if the best way to get to where you want is to be a great communicator, how about the people who don't turn it on?
Right.
You know? Yeah. Who don't apply themselves.
That's right, yeah.
I think you're 100%, your prediction's going to come to fruition. Because it really, there's social media is really just a delivery, right? It's like a medium. It's a media.
Right.
But there's a lot of people who are going into the course creation. That's what they're trying to sell now. That's the big thing to go and try to sell people is like how to create your own course, Vijay.
Right.
I'll sell you this package for $1,200 that'll let you set up your course and whatever it is.
Yeah.
Even the big names like Tony Robbins are getting into this now. They just released their own product. And I think you're right. I think the private sector in America is actually going to provide a better product, a better service than formal education, which when I look at the history of it, I think it came from the 30s or 40s to train factory workers.
Right, yeah.
And we're not factory workers anymore.
Right.
But yet the system that we use to train or teach is the exact same system. It hasn't evolved.
It hasn't evolved, right. And it doesn't produce people who can do. We need people who can get things done.
Yeah.
And that's very rare. Even a class of 50, very few people who graduate, don't get things done. We had Balraj Arnachulam, our international president, visiting us 2 weeks ago in Tampa, and he said he has been to 50 countries in the past 1 year.
50?
50. And he said...
That's a lot of traveling.
Yeah, it is a lot of traveling as a part of his duties, voluntary duties. He said he met a lot of PhDs behind desks. Great intellectual skills, but cannot get things done.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like he said, behind desks.
They're sitting behind desks. They can't get things done.
Sometimes we take for granted those people, don't we? If a pipe breaks in our house and we don't know how to do it,
Yeah.
you need a plumber.
Yeah. We need...
You're not going to teach that at a college.
Can't, yeah.
But somebody's got to learn it. Somebody's got to do it.
Somebody's got to do it.
You can't do it.
Yeah.
Or if your AC breaks,
Right.
somebody's got to come. Or
Right.
if something happens like a landscaper, we had trees. When we bought this house, we had trees and all the limbs off one side were cut off. So these trees are literally leaning over our house. So now we have Irma coming through and I'm like,
Right.
they just look like they just need a good, wind blow. And thank God we didn't get the full hurricane.
Right.
Somebody's got to cut those trees
Right,
down.
yeah.
I don't know how to do it.
Right.
We had a crane out here, a whole bunch of crew guys.
Right,
College
yeah.
doesn't teach that. Like you said,
Yeah.
you need people to do things.
Right.
Not just know or think about them.
Right. Yeah. Even in businesses that are big, people leaders have to take risks, and if they know that's the right thing to do, they need to get out there and do it. You need people who can get things done. If they hold back, thinking of the consequences of their action and then play it safe, it's still going to hurt that organization.
Yeah.
And so then they take the easy way out to see where it hurts them the least. So most of them try to do, okay, let's get rid of some employees.
Right. Right.
We can still have a good bottom line.
Yeah. Jeff Bezos, he didn't play it safe, did he?
He didn't.
He said, I'll sell books out of my house. I mean, it's crazy to think that Amazon started from a guy wanting to sell books online.
It does.
The richest guy in the world.
Right.
I don't know. I know it's them and Alibaba, right? Because Alibaba is very big too.
Jack Ma.
Yeah, but I know that they're both right there.
Right.
But to think you have the two financial selling titans of the world, and I don't know much about who is it? Jack
Ma.
I don't know much about Jack Ma, but Jeff Bezos was just probably average looking.
Yeah.
Not super intelligent guy, just with the idea of selling books online.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
crazy.
That's true. It's crazy. Yeah. I tried selling books online. It's not easy.
No.
Nobody
Well, obviously, he had something that everybody else who was trying to sell books online, right? Even back then, I remember eBay, because you were in the .com bubble.
Right.
Even eBay. I mean, eBay was very popular to sell stuff, but it's nowhere near what Amazon is today.
Right.
In fact, I don't think, I don't know, you tell me, but I almost want to say, I think eBay's peaked, and I don't know if they just didn't innovate or change, but they're not as popular as they were, say, in 2000, maybe 4, 6.
Very true.
See, they can still do a lot, but it just...
Yeah.
Back then there really wasn't much else. Right. We all know eBay.
Right. Yeah.
They had a great name.
I used to go. It was a go-to for me.
Yeah.
Right?
You could find obscure things.
Right.
Then all of a sudden Amazon comes. They're selling all the new stuff. It's less expensive.
Right.
Then they even do used stuff.
Right.
And now you're like, do I even need to go to eBay?
Right. Yeah. You see the branding again. You see the box lying outside your home. It's from Amazon, right?
Oh my God, that smile, right?
Yeah, that smile.
Boy, we love that with a little dimple there.
Yeah,
It's almost like a smirk.
We don't see an eBay package lying outside anybody's house.
No, that's true.
It's just a package.
Gee, I wonder if do you think they got that from Jeff Bezos smirking at everybody in the world?
I think he did, because he made a lot of predictions, and then and I think also eBay is trying to get its partners, or probably investors like PayPal or somebody. Oh, if you buy on eBay, then 24 months you don't have to with our credit card.
Right.
So they're trying everything. That's the only time I go to take a look at eBay, because I get that email from PayPal.
Oh, okay.
Right. Otherwise, it's always go to Amazon, and they have gone into business. They've gone, like you said in the beginning, wedding. What is a wedding?
Yeah.
So
party.
Yeah, it's a party.
Give people food. Give them a reason to be there. Give them a bathroom. Give them some drinks.
Yeah.
Good to go.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's it.
Yeah.
I think we're pretty basic, aren't we?
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what country you're from. Like you said, we all eat.
Yeah.
We all got to sleep. We all got to drink.
Right. And we feel, after that event, you feel we have done something nice.
Yeah.
We had fun. We feel happy. That's what makes the party. Even the food can be lacking in certain department. If you treat your guests right, and a combination of all these factors is what it is.
Be a good host.
Be a good host, yeah.
If my wife, we sat out of town, but if you asked her, I said, that's how I described our wedding.
Right.
I said, our wedding is going to be a big party with you and I as the hosts.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I didn't even eat at my own wedding. I think I had a few things.
Yeah.
But after that, we just went out and we were hosts.
Right.
Hi, thank you for coming.
Right.
It's amazing the power, like you said, like in service of other people.
Mm-hmm.
And you can tell that too. Have you gone to weddings before, and the people were a little bit more about themselves? Mm-hmm. Then you go to another wedding, and it's like a stark contrast, because they're all about the people who are there. Mm-hmm. And you actually can relate to them, and you love it even more.
Right.
It just feels more, Whereas when you go to one, they're like, it's all about us. It's me, me.
Right. Yeah.
And you're like, oh yeah, you're having a great time. But the other people are so concerned about you and how you're having a good time that you can't help but want to. Is there anything I can do? Can I help to clean up? I'll even go get more liquor. How's the bar doing? It's that whole service.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly. So,
all right. So you were up in Pennsylvania. You came down to Florida, and then you started teaching.
Oh, New Jersey, actually. New Jersey.
Oh, New Jersey.
Yeah.
New Jersey.
Right, yeah.
So we'll connect the dots again.
Okay, so I came back here, and I got this teaching entrepreneurship job, because my IT wasn't, a good field, I thought, was going through in the early 2000s. So I switched to teaching, and I started doing well. 3 years I started, and it was a nice job because it helped with my kids too. I would teach a class in the morning, 1:30, come back home, pick the kids from school, and bring them home, feed them, and all that. And mom was at work anyway, and then I would leave again at 5:30 for my evening class, which lasted till 10:30 at night. And
so unlike your dad, you had a home life. Right?
Home life, yeah, in between.
Yeah.
Plus Friday was off.
Right.
You're an instructor, Friday you're off.
Right.
So I taught that for 3 years, and then, I went through this when we had the credit swap falls and all that. I was teaching finance, and I was looking at the kids and said, I'm teaching them something that's failing in the market. I had this inner inner feeling of remorse because the textbooks are all about subject matter and principles that's still failing in the market. When Bush was president, remember, and we went through a slump in the market. And I said, what am I doing? What am I doing teaching this outdated stuff? Even though my entrepreneurship class was a joy to be in. Then I decided, okay, let me do something different. So the same university opened up a position for a dean, and I applied. But it was a medical school. It's all allied, sonography, nursing. And I am an engineer with a master's degree in finance and project management. What am I going to do there, right? But I said, give it a shot, because what does a dean do? Hires faculty in the different disciplines. And I had program directors to help me, and then interacts with any paperwork and requirements with the Department of Education, state departments, and accrediting bodies. So, and making sure I solve teacher problems or student problems, hiring faculty, interacting with other other colleges, campuses. So I applied, got it. And I walked in.
And you got it.
I got it. And
so you didn't let it beat you. That you didn't let. So many people say, I'm not in medical. I don't teach medical. I can't apply.
I can't apply.
And you had a different mentality. And you're like, you look through all that and you're like, wait, but I have all the basics and the fundamentals of what it takes to be successful.
Right.
Wow. And you got it.
I got it. And then my first thing I did was took all the nursing and all the program folders, started reading them. It didn't make sense to me, because you have to go 4 or 5 years through school, or at least 2 years through school to understand. But I started reading through them, and then I had a basic idea. And then I'd go to the nursing program director and ask them silly questions. They would laugh at me because, that's such a silly question. But I wanted to find out, and after some time, I got good at it. I got really good at it, and it's again the same principles that help me. Integrity. Have the respect for the individual. No matter what I saw in a person at one point in time, if you go to an hospital, they'll tell you, you see sick people, when you're in the nursing field or any medical field, you'll see, but you're seeing people at the worst, helpless. They need help even to go to their backside is showing, and no decency or anything. But that's the worst time of their life. But they are not always like that. At one point in time, or any other point in time, they had dignity. They had a sense of purpose. They were great contributors to society.
Could have been your dad when he was going in getting his treatments.
Could have been anybody. So we see them in the hospital and we think, that's what the person is. But that person is more than what you see at that point in time. So it taught me something about teaching the kids that, when you go out there and take care of people, don't assume that that's what the person you're handling is. They are more than that. They are something more important. So you have that respect for that person, then your job will be a lot easier. You'll have a respect for yourself. So I was able to get that into my students. And 16 months into the job, I had the convocation in Fort Lauderdale. Dr. Kaiser, the chancellor of the university, calls me up, 32 campuses worldwide, and he gives me the Dean of the Year award.
Wow.
Yeah, Dean and if I had told myself, listen, it's a medical college. What do I know about medicine?
Right. Good for you.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
I love it.
And again,
how old were you?
I was 37 at that time. 38.
37.
Yeah.
38.
Yeah.
Not even from this country. Not even in the medical field.
Not even in the medical field.
Oh. Jeez.
So, I was then 7, 8, 9 till 2014. I did that. And then I decided to just teach. Because it took a lot. It was a lot of work, We worked almost 7, 8 in the morning and 7, 8 in the evening, and then sometimes weekends. And then a lot of my seniors, people left. So a lot of load that they did came to me, and they wanted me to move to Fort Lauderdale. I didn't feel like moving at this point in time because my family was here.
Right.
And I said, I can put away for 2 more years and I can always go back to that job after my kids are gone to college, which is this year. But and that was one of the best jobs I did. I had a lot of issues. All the fire, the head of the fire department in all the counties reported to me because they taught EMT at that college.
Oh, wow.
Hernando, Hillsborough,
Yeah.
Pasco. They're all instructors there. So, I got to meet such people.
Yeah.
I got to hire some great people,
Were you here in Tampa?
In Tampa, yeah.
Okay.
And, one thing I tell people when I hire a nurse, because they all have to have some experience in the technical field, plus qualification and certification. Mm-hmm. So if I hire a nurse, I tell my nurse, remember, you're not a nurse when you are with the kids. You're a nursing instructor. Because I found many of them had the tendency to go and try to act like a nurse with the students. Mm-hmm. That is not going to train a future nurse.
Right. So you were trying to set their mentality. There.
Right. So I approached a lot of things with a different perspective. Because to get Dean of the Year, my instructors had to top in certain areas of instruction, student feedback, their own qualification and all that. So only then my points went up to get the Dean of the Year. Mm-hmm. So I knew I had to get my instructors, their act together, their interrelationship with the students. Nalini Ambadi, she died. She used to work in the University of Stanford. She did an interesting study. Doctors who get sued are not always doctors who, perform badly in their job. It is the tone of their voice.
Oh, yeah. The way they made the person feel.
They made the person feel. So I had access to such studies. I had to implement that among my faculty.
Yeah.
And they did this through an interesting study. They taped a few people who were sued and who were not sued. And the empathy they showed when they told the patient, hey, sorry, there was a mistake. Or, I'm sorry to let you know you have a problem because of such and such a thing. It has progressed to such an extent. The patients got angry. You know that phases they go through, anger, disbelief, and all that.
Yeah.
So then they sued, thinking the hospital or the doctors were responsible for it. But the study showed that it was the voice, the empathy people showed in the voice that brought about a difference. So some doctors were never sued. Some were sued more often than the others.
Wow.
So that's the quality of the voice itself, empathy, showing empathy. And empathy cannot be created through mocking. It's not an imitation. It has to come from within.
It has to be sincere.
Sincerity.
Sincerity. It's a discipline, right?
Right. And the second aspect I discovered was, the other study they did was they had instructors, teach something on video. Mm-hmm. And they made a group of students watch that instructor. And they had another group of students watch the same instructor in another room.
Yeah.
But the second room, the voice was muted.
Really? So it's just the visual, just the actions.
The gestures, yeah.
Okay.
The non-verbal communication is very powerful, how you communicate, non-verbally. Because they both evaluated the instructors and the scoring was more or less the same. They were asked to evaluate the instructor and rank them in the best, certain criteria were given. And both of them more or less picked the instructors gave them the same points. So the non-verbal communication is more important than the verbal. Because verbal makes sense to the head. Non-verbal makes sense to you as a person. Do I listen to him? Only if I take the opportunity to listen to you, then will I drop my defenses and listen. If I don't like you, no matter if you're the guru of certain things, I will still be skeptic. So my full listening powers are not harnessed there. I got to like you. I got to tell myself, I got to listen to this person.
Right.
Only then will I find purpose in that conversation. Or you can talk to me as much as you want, But if I already made up my mind not to listen, even just by looking at you doesn't mean I'm listening, right?
Right.
So
I hear you, but I'm not listening to you.
Right. I hear you, but I'm not listening. So nonverbal is very important, and how we use our nonverbal is a cue of our own behavior. We can't hide it.
Right.
It'll come out in some point in time. If we are trying to act out something here in this space, for which is a different kind of behavior, just to be nice. But at some point in time, I'll drop my defenses, and you will see it.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I think it's. I don't think no one person. Obviously, actors and actresses have perfected conveying those emotions. Right. But there's, they sometimes have to do it, time over time over time. Multiple takes. You know that.
Right. Yeah.
10 minutes for 10 hours, right? Or 10 hours for 10 minutes.
Right. Yeah.
But I think it's not just the verbal, like you said, it's the nonverbal.
Nonverbal.
And I don't think there's a single human in history that we can look back at and say, yeah, he was great at faking it. Right. He was great at faking that he's listening to me, or, she's listening to me. I think it's too hard to fake.
Right.
Because you have to, unless you mean it sincerely, you have to be on all the time with your body gestures, which includes your eyes, your eyebrows, twitches in your face, just these little things, not to mention anything that you say. I just don't think you can fake it.
Yeah, you can't fake it. Even if you do it for some time, you get that funny feeling after you move away from that person. Something odd about that person. I can't figure out what it is, right? And then your subconscious is telling you.
You got that gut feeling.
There's a gap between that conscious perception and subconscious perception. So that makes you uneasy. There's something about, I can't tell what it is. Oh, that's just a woman's intuition. And women get it better than men.
Yeah.
The intuition is a lot stronger because they have to rely on it more than men.
Yeah, they're subconscious. I think they're so the subconscious is the oldest part of our brain, right?
Right.
If I'm not mistaken, and that's like the base of the brain.
Right. Yeah.
That's like all the years of evolution are just squeezed down in there.
Right. Yeah.
Vijay, I heard this, and I don't know if you've heard of this, but I heard this really interesting in science about the way the brain works and the way we work. And apparently, we operate. Like you and I right now, we don't do this very often. We don't sit across from each other. So we're fully engaged up here. But apparently, when we go through our normal daily lives or normal daily routines, we're engaged about 10% up here, 5 to 10% for the average person, and about 90% here in the subconscious.
Okay.
And the subconscious is what you're programmed. How you were raised to think about money and how you were raised to do a job. And so, it's like mowing the lawn or doing the dishes. And you know how some people are like, oh, I do that it's when sometimes I do my best thinking or whatever, because our subconscious takes over.
Right.
It can do it. But you're not building a new memory.
Right.
You're not living in the moment.
Right.
You're literally running off of a program.
Right, yeah.
And it's almost like listening.
Yeah, right. I stop at a signal light, a traffic light. Right, when it turns green, I go, but I'm not consciously doing it.
Right.
Right, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
And when you came down here today,
that's interesting. Yeah.
When you came down here today, this was a different route for you.
Yes.
So you're a little bit more cognizant.
Right.
But whenever you went to say go meet with the trio when you were in there and wherever you guys met, after a few times you just sub program, right? Subconscious could bring you there.
Right. Yeah.
So you
very true.
You could probably leave your house, get there, and be like, "Wow, that seemed like it was 5 minutes."
Yeah, that's interesting.
Because subconsciously, this was going. You weren't making new memories. You didn't need to.
Right.
Right. The way that they describe, somebody said the way that you can stop time is to live more in the moment. Because when you're not living in the moment and you're letting your subconscious run, you're taking a snapshot like every minute. Or every 3 minutes, because you don't have to. Your brain doesn't need to remember anything. The subconscious can run it. And they're like, if you try to live in the moment, you have to take more snapshots.
Right.
So it feels like you're getting more time.
Yeah. Yeah. You can have goals in life, but life happens now.
Yeah. Isn't that nuts?
Right.
It's like you said, trying to learn, you just can't fake that stuff.
You can't.
And the body language and how you talk. Like if I don't care, I guess it's like what is it, CIA?
Yeah.
And the FBI and all, they're trained that if somebody leans away from you, I'm not really into you.
Right.
right? Or if my foot is leading toward the door, it's almost like my foot is kind of subconsciously leading to where I want to go.
Right, yeah.
And I want to leave. And so I will tell you, I've picked up on those things. And sometimes if I talk to somebody and I see their foot point the other way, I go, oh, well, it was good talking with you, VJ. Sorry to take up so much of your time. I really appreciate it. And they're like, and they usually go, oh, no, they go, okay, great. It was great talking with you. And I'm like, oh.
I have a friend who does that. She looks at photographs and she tells exactly what the person was thinking when the photograph was taken.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, it is a science because I just don't think we are the subconscious. Just how many thousands or millions of years.
Right.
I love that. You can't fake it.
You can't fake it, yeah.
And like the way you guys were training there and like learning and the way you were, with your faculty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the idea that you're teaching things that are actually like what's in the syllabus is important, but you're teaching the important things about the person.
Right. It's very important, yeah.
You're an instructor when you're here. You're not a nurse bandaging up something. Like these young people need to learn.
Know that, yes.
Right. You're helping with their mentality. You're shifting their state. You're shifting their attitude.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great leader. You're inspiring people.
And people don't know that, They think as a job, okay, my job is to teach them what I know in my field. But it's more than that.
Mm-hmm.
You have to think outside, you have to observe yourself at any point in time. It's a form of meditation.
Yeah.
You observe yourself when you're going through conflicting situations in your life, or tensions in your life. You step back and observe, what am I doing? What am I thinking? And be non-judgmental, because that will help you down the road understand yourself even better.
Wow. Do you meditate?
I do.
Regularly?
They say there's one thing you should do consistently every day of your life. You can do many things, more than one, but everyone should do at least one thing consistently every day. And meditation is one thing I do.
How long do you meditate for?
It takes, sometimes it's hardly 5 to 10 minutes. Sometimes I can go for an hour.
Wow.
Yeah, I can sit there 45, 50 minutes and not know it that I've passed 45, 50 minutes. And I consciously put an alarm on my phone because sometimes I get carried away. It's so peaceful. Certain days it's so peaceful.
Wow.
And it helps me. It helps me for anything that and if I'm working on a project or something like that, my thinking becomes very clear. And
you find it helps with your focus?
It comes, and all that you want to know, need to know is within you. It comes out.
So I've been meditating myself, and I try to do 10 minutes every day.
Oh, nice.
And I guess there's different kinds of meditation.
Yes.
But I guess I picked the mindfulness one, which was become more aware.
Mm-hmm.
And I've also tried, I don't know if it's auto-suggestion or what it is, but when when you're dozing off or before, when I lay in bed, it's like, okay, hey, let's unwind and let's do a physical inventory and
okay.
Things like that.
That's part of yoga, so yeah.
Is it?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, I told my wife this the other day, we were both kind of laughing. I was like, I listened to I think it's 15, 18 minutes, and I'm like, I don't know how it ends.
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing it for a month now. I don't know how it ends. It always...
No, the great things come out of it. People like Jerry Seinfeld, he's big into transcendental meditation.
Who's that?
Jerry Seinfeld.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know
he's
that.
big into, he said it's meditation that got him to become successful in life.
Mm-hmm.
And he does 45 minutes of it. He's one of the most, wealthiest entertainers in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does a lot of meditation. And a lot of people I know, even in the art field, there are a lot of people who meditate. Willem Dafoe, he does yoga and meditation.
Mm-hmm.
And he feels he's able to get into the character because of his meditation.
And he's hell of an actor.
He's a hell of an actor. Yeah, I love the man. Right from the time Platoon and, Passion of Christ. Great actor. You don't need lead actors. You need actors like that who can get into a character.
Right.
And, you watch a movie with him and you're entertainment.
Yeah.
You're not seeing something nice, but you're entertained because he's able to portray that character. And the back of the mind is just acting. but it's so realistic.
I think the key is if you can connect with the character.
Right. Yeah.
Whatever the character there is that they're trying to portray, and I love movies too.
Yeah.
And I was lucky. I was born in America, so I was, Friday night movies was like big for me because it was like Friday night they would show like a movie that was in the theaters last year. We didn't even have VHS yet or anything. I'm like, and it just, I watched movies throughout all my years. Lots of movies, lots and lots. I still have tons of DVDs packed away. But the one thing I guess I just really started to recognize in the past couple of years was how much you can connect on an emotional level with that character is how well of a job they're doing of acting.
Right.
Right? So if VJ plays VJ in a movie, but I can connect with you,
yes,
you've done your job.
Right. Yeah.
If VJ is playing Willem Dafoe, but I can connect with you, and it's believable, you've done a good job.
Right. Yeah.
It's like even being on stage.
Right. Yeah. Stanislavski.
If we can connect with you, even at the district conference. Right. If we can connect, I think you've done a good job.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, that's very true. That's the foundation of Stanislavski's method style of acting. You are on a stage and you become the tree. You feel you're the tree. Then the audience will see the tree.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
So one movie is, and this one's kind of a hokey horror one, but I just thought the method of acting was really somebody who's a master of their craft or really, took it very serious was this movie called Jeepers Creepers. And it had this kind of like a creature they call him the Creeper. And he was very scary looking.
I've heard of it. Yeah, I've not seen it. Yeah.
He's very intimidating and, he's preying on teenagers and he's terrorizing like this small Midwest town. And he comes out once every 40 years and he, feeds on humans. And so, but he's a creature, a human-like creature. Well, the guy who played him would not hang out with the cast.
Okay.
He literally isolated himself from the cast.
Oh.
He didn't hang out with them. He didn't get to know them personally. They said, in fact, they hardly ever saw him.
Right.
So whenever they saw him, it was when he was in character as the creature. And so many of them, afterward, they were like, I'm still kind of creeped out by him. I'm still a little terrified. And, he doesn't even do interviews or anything, but the whole idea was they were truly terrified. It helped them act better because they could feel, they're like, I don't really know this guy anyway.
Right.
It's not like you and I are buddies and all of a sudden you and I go into character.
Right.
And I have to pretend like, hey, this is my buddy VJ, but he's not my buddy VJ.
Right.
They were legitimately kind of nervous about this guy. Something was off. They're like, I don't know him.
Right.
I know he's here.
Right.
For all I know, he could be killing people in this trailer. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I thought that way of acting, method acting, is
very true.
Very powerful.
Right. It helped
or living the life of your character.
When I played the handicapped person.
Yeah.
I did. The attire itself helps. With the cane, I played a handicapped person. And
what movie?
It's called An Angel and a Saint.
Okay.
And it's going to be out in September. Daryle is going to get a special invite.
All right.
Yeah.
Send it on over. So September of this year, 2019.
2019. We have finished most of except for one scene we have done. And Edward is doing the editing.
What's Edward's last name?
Edward Jairaj.
Edward Jairaj.
Yeah.
All right.
He's done many movies. It's, I think, his second feature film.
Oh, wow.
And the first one was in
film. Second feature film.
130 minutes long.
Oh, so this isn't a 20-minute YouTube thing.
Not a 20-minute YouTube. He has done 20-minute YouTube,
this is a full feature.
Feature, yeah. It's going to be in the theater.
Really?
Right. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And
holy crap.
Yeah, it'll be great. And it's got cast and crew from all over Tampa. It's got a sort of an international cast.
Okay, and you're in this.
I'm in it. I play a very crucial character. I play a handicapped person.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see because...
Well, you don't play a handicapped person. Your character is a handicapped. My character. And that's who you're playing. Gotcha.
Yeah, exactly.
Got you. Because you're in character when you're doing it. There you go.
Yeah. And I had to get the walk right, so I watched Edward Norton and the score. Edward said, "Okay, let's watch Edward Norton."
Oh, that was a good movie. The score with Robert De Niro and him.
And Marlon Brando.
Oh, yeah.
3 of my favorite actors. At least 2 of my favorite
They're going to like rob something. I remember watching that. That was good.
Yeah. And the first time Edward Norton meets Robert De Niro, he plays sort of in a handicap, he's uneasy. And I looked at that and I decided to more or less do something similar, but I changed it. He's not handicapped in the movie. Edward is not, but in this, my character is.
Right.
And so I had to get into the character, and I know there's some twists in the plot, so I know who I am. But I had to act not only for the movie, but also for the others in the movie.
Yeah.
And it was interesting, and I didn't know that. I did one scene where everybody became quiet. There were 25 people on the set. And Edward is a very good director. He'll keep pushing you. He did not, one take is nothing for him. And 6 or 7 takes is like, it's just average.
Right.
And he'll keep pushing you. And
till he sees what he wants.
Till he sees, and which I don't tend to argue, even though I may feel I've done something good, because he's the one who's got an entire vision of the whole movie, how it comes out, how the audience will see. And my character is not the only one he should worry about. It's the whole that makes a difference, right? He has a vision for that. So I tend to give him what he wants. And I kept going. At some point, they say professional actors, they're ready. They give one take and it's a wrap and it's done. But he is not like that. He makes you do it, and your creative juices sort of reduce when you keep repeating something, because no more acting, it becomes a repetition, right? Mm-hmm. So I could understand it the first time. The first scene was I had to come down the steps. That's what you see in the trailer, on YouTube, and Angel. And so I have to come down the steps, and I have to be puzzled to see one of the characters pull up. So I did that with one take, and as soon as I completed, that was the first time I used a cane and walked. Everybody started clapping. I felt great because I was rehearsing for it 2 hours the previous night,
Right.
And they said, you got it right. And people are saying, this is Oscar for you. There were people who were zapped that I could do that.
And that's Angel and
a Saint.
And a Saint.
And a Saint. It's a girl who runs away from home. Rich family. She gets prosecuted by people in the family because they want her money, and her parents are missing. And then she meets a homeless man who's got Parkinson's disease in the park. Actually, we shot it right behind the library in downtown. And
downtown Tampa?
Downtown Tampa.
Yeah.
And they get friendly, and at first the man doesn't want to help, then he decides to help. That's the story. And then there are a lot of other characters in it. There's a mafia character. There's a lady who wants the entire wealth of the family, and there's a scientist who's invented a product that will bring in millions. So in that, so I am one of those characters, and it'll be interesting to see what it is.
September 8th.
Play a very loyal person, servant to the scientist in the family. Yeah, September. Yeah.
Oh wow! I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah, I will make sure you know about it. So
I'm gonna check it out.
Thank you for and it's because again through Toastmasters. Toastmasters got me a job as a dean, and Toastmasters gets you to into a movie.
Yeah.
And when we are a Toastmaster, we are standing and speaking in front of people for 5 to 7 minutes. We are storytelling. We're telling a story.
A beginning, a middle, and end.
Middle and end. And gestures. There's vocal variety, right? And all those things that we incorporate. And when you give hundreds of speeches, acting is nothing. I wasn't even looking at the camera when they were shooting. Some actors, they tend to look at the camera.
Right.
I wasn't doing that because when you have a big audience in front of in Toastmasters, and you're looking at one side of the room, and the other side is still there, but you're not looking at them instantly, You're gradually coming to them. So they're there.
Right.
They say, see with your ears and, hear with your eyes. If I speak into a microphone, if I look at the audience and somebody does, then I know I'm speaking too loud.
Right.
Yeah.
You can get great feedback.
Yeah, get feedback. I'm getting feedback through my eyes. I'm hearing through my eyes. But then I'm seeing through my ears because I have to become aware of the stage presence, right? So I have people around. So by them moving around, I'm not looking at them. I can hear them. As I go closer to the wall, I know I'm getting close to the wall. So I'm seeing with my ears.
Like when you were in the scene, you're saying, yeah.
Right, yeah. So I never looked at the camera, and I was not conscious of it. And
you were in the moment, not focused on the camera and how you were looking at the camera, or how oh God, am I doing? You were basically just doing your thing, telling a story or playing a character.
Yeah, we're given lines. Sometimes we improvised.
Yeah. Let me ask you. So let's jump into Toastmasters real quick. You were the part of the trio in 2016 or 17?
2017 and 2018.
2017, 2018.
Yeah,
and you were the district director.
Right.
And were you living in Tampa at the time?
I was living in Tampa. You know what happened when I moved from New Jersey? I used to be the part of the trio in New York, New Jersey. Mm-hmm. I was the lieutenant governor of marketing. So I moved down here. I was also Toastmaster of the Year that year.
Oh, nice.
Because we formed so many clubs.
Wow.
And then when I moved down here, I tried to get into Toastmasters, but my job kept me busy. Mm-hmm. So I said, I met this kid one day. I was at a event and I was walking away. And this kid came running behind me, 8 or 9 years old. Hey, are you a Toastmaster? I turned around and said, yeah, I'm a Toastmaster. Well, can I be a Toastmaster? He asked me that. I said, no, you got to be 18 to be a Toastmaster.
How do you know to ask you if you were a Toastmaster?
Because somebody told him I'm a Toastmaster,
okay.
And this kid came running.
Right.
Somebody must have told him, Right. Maybe, definitely not his parents, because his parents did not know I was a Toastmaster. So there was a group of people there, and one of them would have told he's a Toastmaster, go talk to him.
Right.
And this kid liked to talk a lot. And so then he asked me, what does a Toastmaster do? What's a Toastmaster? I said, you want to be a Toastmaster, but you don't know what a Toastmaster does.
Right.
So
That's interesting.
I began to tell him what we do and all that. So he said, I like it, should I be 18 to do that? I said, go with your dad to one of the clubs and watch what they do.
Right.
So I told his dad, and I walked away. Then something struck me. I said, why shouldn't that kid know what public speaking is? So then I started, I had this dining table in my home. I took the leaves out, make the dining table longer, and I invited 12 kids to my home. And I started teaching them public speaking right there at home.
Really?
2005, yeah. And then I got a space, and clubs were sponsoring youth leadership. 8 weeks, 2 hours every Friday. I taught them public speaking, voluntary.
Wow.
And I've taught over 1,000 kids to date in Tampa alone. And last 2 years,
Not through Toastmasters.
Through Toastmasters. Youth leadership.
Youth leadership. Okay.
Youth leadership.
The program.
The program.
Yeah.
But when I started out, the district was not that keen. They didn't have a missionary to help out youth leadership. Mm-hmm. It's only the last 3-4 years they've been giving manuals for free and all that. But even that's been stopped now. But I came into Toastmasters here in this district because of my youth leadership.
Yeah.
All these kids graduating, I've trained over 1,000 kids, and I don't take more than 24 at a time, maximum 24, and I don't let anybody repeat the class. So, I did that, and I found a lot of them getting on to become debaters. They go to Harvard and debate. I had one kid who, Sampath's son, who was on ABC News last year, a few months ago. He was only hardly 8 years old when he came to mine, and he wouldn't stop talking. Yeah. Anirudh wouldn't stop. Now he speaks at our conferences.
Oh, wow.
This kid is great, and so I had a lot of now the kids are becoming Toastmasters now.
Yeah.
So that's how I started teaching kids. So then the district would call me once in a while and say, hey, can you come and help with some TLIs, training institutes? And I would go and talk to them about Toastmasters and youth leadership and so forth. And then in 2017, they asked me, hey, why don't you run for the trio? I said, I've done number 3 and not done number 2. So I'll run for number 2, which is PQD, Program Quality Director.
Yeah.
So I put in my papers and I decided to run for the PQD spot. And what happened was on the day of the election, people came to me and said, we would like you to run for number 1, because we want you badly for number 1. I said, why is that? It's not right, not ethical of me, because I've been telling people, hey, vote for me for number 2,
right.
PQD. And they said, no, we have some problems. You got to get in, or, we are going to be in a problem. So on the day at 10 a.m. in the morning, I put in my paper for number 1. And I knew I had only that speech, 2-minute speech. And there were 3 people, including me, for that spot.
Right.
So when it was time,
and the incumbent, right? The current district director was running again, correct?
Right, yeah, the current PQD was running against me.
Okay.
She's been in the trio for the last 3 years. And she's been a division director. A nice lady,
I was there.
Yeah, you were there.
Because I was president.
Right.
And my VPE wasn't there, so I actually had 2 votes.
Right, yeah, you had 2 votes. And, she's a nice lady,
Yeah.
We didn't talk for some time because of that. But after that, I met her somewhere and we kind of patched up, we were like, I can understand. I mean, if I have to run against, it's not like I'm... stabbing her. It's more like the voters picking me. So all that I did in 2005 came back to me. I knew it was that speech. And I always try to do that speech in front of my daughter. When I did my first speech in New York, she was only 4 years old. So I called her, and now she's in college at UF, the elder one. I said, I got to do a speech, 2-minute speech. Can you listen? And she said, yeah. And I asked her, what do you think? And she said, it's a good one. And I used Stephen Covey in that, remember?
Oh, wow,
yeah,
really?
The front line is the one that produces the bottom line. So train and treat your front line right, then they'll produce the bottom line for the group. So
I'll tell you, I can't remember exactly what you said, but I do remember that what you said, and then compared to everybody else, I'm like, this guy's a plan, and... your principles.
Right, principles.
Were in your speech. And I mean, I didn't know you at the time.
Right.
But I can tell you that they were there, especially talking to you now and getting to know more of you.
Right.
And so that's, that's probably why you, like you said, up in New York.
Right.
When you went against Cuomo's, what was it, campaign?
Surrogate speaker. Yeah, he's a professor of medicine at Johnson University. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean... Can you imagine how powerful it is when somebody speaks their truth?
Yeah.
And it's even more powerful when it comes from a very good set of disciplines.
Right, it does.
It just, that's pretty amazing.
It is. But, sometimes it bothers me too that people would look at that. A lot of people did not know me. Mm-hmm. They would look at a 2-minute speech and they would think, oh, this guy is good.
Yeah.
That worries me because then we can produce leaders or great communicators, but...
Well, we do, but like you said, the truth always comes out.
It comes out, and sooner or later it comes out.
And your body language obviously had something you won it, and it's not like you squeaked by.
Right.
You won it pretty well.
Yes.
If I remember correctly, it was... Second was a distant second.
Oh, very distant.
Like third and second were... not that far apart.
Right, yeah.
But the distance between first and second was
it
pretty big.
Landslide.
I want to say it was like 128 or something.
Yeah,
like that.
right. Yeah. And, a lot of things, it happens. You win the race before it begins. Mm-hmm. The race is just a fatality, an eventuality.
Wow.
But the race is always won before it begins. They even tell you before you run the race, you run it in your head and all that. But this is different because when you go out there, a lot of things happen that will tell you that what you got to do to make it happen. For example, if I am running and I'm standing near the door, nobody's talking to me, I'm not a popular leader.
Right.
I have to make sure, and there was a lady who used to work for John J. Markey, who's the longest serving senator in New York, 50, 60 years or something like that. He served in New York State Senate.
That's a long time.
Ex-Navy and all that. She told me that when I ran for my first election, what are you doing there, doing all by yourself? Make sure you're talking to somebody at any point in time. Because others are watching you. They know you're a candidate. And then you're not talking to someone.
Right.
right? That shows you're not a popular guy.
Right. Perception.
For small things.
Yeah.
So, that's one thing. And the other thing is, when you go up to the stage, your leader has got to show they're fit, no matter what. So, I may be 80 years old, but if I run up to the stage, they'll know me as a 30-year-old guy.
Right.
Perception.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's good.
Yeah, when I was called, I know the previous two people, they faltered getting onto the stage because they went to the wrong end and they couldn't get on stage properly. So when it was my turn, I ran up. I held the, rail, and I jumped 2 steps and got to the stage.
I do remember that. You were swift.
Swift, yeah. And it's very important.
Energetic.
And show them the energy, because we can't, leaders have to be energetic all the time. Followers don't have to be.
Right.
Right. When you're fighting, you got to show you're a leader only through your energy.
Right. Wow, that's great.
Yeah, perception.
I never thought of that.
Yeah,
like if you're going to go up there with gusto and show me you're in it.
Right. Yeah, you're in it, and which is you got to follow up. Like you said, integrity is important, but vision is also important because a lot of people who don't know you, and they're looking at you for the first time, so you don't have a tie that's coming halfway down.
Right.
You might be the best dressed guy all the time, but once they see you with that, that's the first time they see you. First impression is the best impression for them.
Right. You don't get a second time to make a first impression.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good one.
So Vijay, before I let you go, and I just want to say I appreciate you coming by today. I appreciate your time and sitting here and talking with us and sharing your stories. I do have one final question for you. Mm-hmm. So at this stage in your life, you've been a dean, you've been an entrepreneur, you've worked for your father, you've crossed you've an actor, you've crossed many different industries, you've been in IT, right? What's the next thing you want to tackle?
Well, I want to coach people.
You want to coach people?
I want to coach people. That's one thing I'll do. And I want to start some kind of training, corporate training. That's just to have my bread buttered. That's all, not for from the passion side. I would like to coach people, make them successful. And I've already started doing that. A lot of people, I pick up, let it be whatever you want to do in life. You want to pick up garbage, that's fine. You want to sell sandwich, that's fine. I will show you a way to do it. And I will do it with a passion as if I am doing that, given my experience, my commitment and all that. And I will make sure that they get that emotional support too. And that's what I'd like to do, see some 5 or 10 people, lead them to the promised land.
Yeah. Impart some wisdom and help them to grow and be stronger and be the people that they want to be.
Right.
Not the people other people want them to be.
Right, exactly. They want to be. There's no cookie cutter approach to anything in life,
Yeah.
They want to do something, as long as it is constructive, not destructive.
I love it. And you know what? Maybe can help you somehow with that. Yeah. So,
okay.
Well, this has been fantastic. I really appreciate you coming by. Stop Hamel Time. I don't even think I mentioned the name of my show in the beginning, but I honestly was very excited to get you in front of a mic and to learn more about you because I knew you were a man with history, and not just accomplishments, but you were an uncommon person.
Right.
And so, wow, you really.
Yeah, I appreciate having me on the show, and I could tell, certain people they can read other people so fast. We met first time in the hall, and then at the parking lot. You're looking for your car, I was looking for my car, and you just looked at me. A few sentences I spoke, you said, "Hey, would you like I do a show? Would you like to come and be on that show?"
Yeah.
Like you read me that, read me off just like that in the darkness of that parking lot you're looking, So
it wasn't
you
just a parking lot, though. It was the way you ran up on the stage that day when you were running.
Thank you.
Like you said, you don't get a second chance for a first impression.
Right. And so, I really appreciate it. And I'm so happy you're doing this. I watched your other interviews, and I learned a lot even from the people you've interviewed before.
Yeah.
There's so much you can learn from other people.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And it's done with the grace. I like the passion you put into it, the finesse that you put into your work, and I want to wish you all the best, and may you be very successful in what you do and be an inspiration for all of us.
Well, thank
Toastmasters.
you. And if I need a coach, I know who to call.
Right. Yeah, you know where to call. Anytime.
I appreciate that.
Anytime for Hamel Time.
I love it, man. Don't even have to stop. Let's just go right to Hamel Time.
Yeah.
So, Vijay, thank you so much for coming by. And who knows, maybe I'll even have you on again sometime. And I just want to send out a quick reminder, September 8th, 2019, be on the lookout for...
Hamel Time.
No, Angel and...
An Angel and a Saint.
Angel and the Saint.
Yeah, An Angel and a Saint. The trailer is out on YouTube. Please go watch it, and I hope everybody will support. It's all individual, independent filmmakers in Tampa.
Yeah.
And we all need to support each other, so I hope you do.
I will. Yeah. And you know what I'm going to do? I'll put on this video, I'll put a link at the bottom.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Or the name,
right,
so people can go look it up on YouTube.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And with that, Vijay, I think we've gone on a good amount of time, and let's give everybody who's watching a little bit of a breather here.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we're going to get up and stretch out a little bit, so that'll feel good. So again, really appreciate you stopping by, and you are an uncommon man, and I appreciate your time here sharing your history with us. So thank you so much, Vijay.
Thank you, Daryle. Thank you very much. Thank you.